So, hey, everybody, just reading here. Sheldon, thank you for joining us. I don't know who else is here yet. Hasn't showed up. Well, according to this, it says zero, but that can't be the case. Here, three, four of us. Okay, it's walking sticks and survival spears, huh, Sheldon? That should be one hell of a project for the day. Yeah, we're here again with my friend Bible Jeff Mitchell, somebody that I have a lot of respect for intellectually. I also have my friend Eric Gibbs, who's actually the one who's responsible for the closing song of my videos. He wrote that, and I think that's a masterpiece. Actually, wish I could get him to do another one of those things, but I just can't get him to do it. Anyways, and we're talking of all things astrology. Why astrology? That's what I'm asking myself too. But you know what? The reason why for me is that multiple reasons. Maybe to understand a little more about myself and how my mom was into astrology. She was in and out of that kind of stuff, and you'll find. Well, anyways, I was like, well, how maybe that might affect me in my life. So I try to understand my mom, her mindset. She's no longer with me, and I was never able to have these kind of conversations with her. Just that mother son dynamics. And also, what I find fascinating, Jeff, is that here's a guy who's clearly a left brain oriented intellectual, a guy who is a bookworm, thinks, and it has a background that's similar to me in science with a master's degree in all things, in environmental science. And he brings up in the last show that he's interested in astrology. The last thing I ever would have thought in a million years that Jeff would have been interested in. And we talked a little bit, and he says there's some practical applications to it. So we're going to explore. So saying that, you too, thank you for joining me. It means a lot to me. And Eric, it means a lot to me. And we haven't had a chance to hang out for a couple months because of many reasons. So this is our chance to hang out, So, and I know that Eric has brought this up and has been dabbling in it and thinking, researching it and all that kind of stuff. So if he'd be someone that will be someone that would be useful this journey. So thank you guys. How you doing? As the old thing goes with these shows, Jeff, how you doing?
Oh, I'm well. I've just was taking a nap before this, so I think I'm still trying to wake up from that.
Yeah, that's how I'm saying. I've been. I try to go to bed, but trying to get this already and try to make sure somebody might show up. And then I got like 3 hours sleep, so
I've been going strong since 4:30, guys. 4:30 a.m.
Yeah, well, that's you, man. Because of your job, you wake up. Plus, he's a night out. I think I am too. I wonder sometimes, Jeff, if my birth, that time of the day I was born, was like late or like early morning, like sometimes between like 1 and 4. Because I'm always been a person that's been a night owl, and I wonder if that has something to do with it.
Well, I haven't seen anything that indicates that there may be something out there. I'm not an expert in astrology, but I have been looking at personality assessments, and I think what led me into it is I have always known that I was a Leo. That being the sun was in the constellation Leo when I was born, which means in August. So I was born in August. That makes me a Leo. And I've always known it. So, I've always identified with a lion. And so, no matter what I'm going through, I knew I was a lion. So I guess that I don't think that's what formed me, knowing that I was a lion, but I think knowing that I am a lion explains why I am the way I am. And so if you know me, and Mike, I know you've seen enough of me to know that I kind of embody a lion at times when I'm,
you like a good fight and you stand your ground and you have no problem booting people out
right. So
TikTok's live.
So I can use my claws and my teeth when I want to argue with somebody. In fact, I don't know. It's like I feel like I've never even lost an argument, even with my wife or anything. You know, it's like I just don't lose arguments. Now, other people may think
Not too
I do.
often. I've noticed that. It's true. That's not. He's not embellishing here, over exaggerating. It's true. He pretty much is pretty good at be persuasive with his arguments, so to the point of pissing you off as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, so what I would have hoped to have done so you can read your birth chart without knowing the time of day, but it cuts out half the information, so it's not as good because it really cuts out half the information, and it's really pertinent information because as I said, I'm a Leo. That all that says is the sun was in the constellation Leo when I was born. But you see, the time of day that you're born actually is, I don't know, just as important because that helps determine your personality too, and it changes every 2 hours because that's what's called the rising sign, which means what constellation was on the eastern horizon the moment you were born. See, I was born at 9 o'clock at night. The sun will be in Leo for 30 days. So it's like, it's not even, it's not changeable because the sun will be in Leo for 30 solid days without changing. But every day, as the sun or Earth rotates or whatever, as the sky changes, it changes every 2 hours. So that's what's called the rising sign. And it's really, in my view, it's like the second most important trait. So you've got the solar sign, and then you've got the rising sign, which changes every 2 hours based on where you're born. And that's what's amazing. If you're born in California or New York or Singapore, supposedly your personality is based on whatever the sky looked like wherever you are at that particular time. And when we read my chart, it will be, I guess, become apparent. As I explained, this is the sign that would change. If I'd been born 2 hours different or 2 hours earlier or later, then I wouldn't share these traits. Somebody else who was born 2 hours later would have different traits. And a lot of people, especially a lot of Christians, think that this is all hocus pocus, mumbo jumbo, pulling the wool over your eyes, saying that the Bible says you shouldn't dabble in this sort of thing because it's mysticism. But there's nothing. So what I look at is not fortune telling or learning the lottery numbers or anything like that. I don't even dabble in that at all. But I have been fascinated for many years now with personality assessments and comparing personalities of people that I know, my brother, my sister, my mother, my wife, my children, and reading all their charts and saying, oh my goodness, this thing explains my wife, my sister, my brother, my daughters, my co-workers. I've done it with hundreds of people, and it's amazing how accurate it is. So, and so you say, where did that come from? And I think it's logical that people have been studying the stars since the beginning of known history. And so if you look at the stars consistently, study their positions, and you start studying the personality traits of people, and if you start saying all these people that are born in August share these common traits, like you say, who am I thinking of? Napoleon. I don't know if he was a Leo or not, but if you say, well, Napoleon was born in August, and Joseph Stalin was born in August, and then you just look at the personality traits of these people, you can say, man, these guys have a lot of things in common. And so that's just a simple way to explain how you can see similarities in personality traits, realize that they were born at the same time, or and make it more complicated by not just saying where was the sun, but where was the sun and the moon and the stars, and and each planet, and they've just done that over time, and they've categorized people, and it turns out to be accurate.
What I find interesting is a lot of these historical figures you just brought up actually used a lot of the astrological associations with their campaigns and their aspirations.
Yeah, so are you saying something like Napoleon, for example, would say have his advisors say when does the stars say that we would be victorious if we went to war?
Exactly.
They say, well, so they say, well, you shouldn't go now because the stars are saying it's not favorable for victory, but maybe it is if you go in it. And if you do that a few times and you're wrong, then you're going to say, well, we screwed that up. Like my advisors were wrong. They said we'd win and we didn't. So if you do that quite a few times and it turns out to be right, then you start to put a little weight in it. So, and I think this has just been done millions of times throughout every civilization since the creation or the existence of humanity. And so you've weeded out the things that have turned out to be wrong, and what we have now is pretty accurate.
Well, it's been going on for a long time, obviously. So it's in all cultures. This has been influenced some way, somehow by this, either astrotheology or astrology. It's me and Jeff coming from Christian, still have that perspective about us, although we're radical about it compared to the most, because especially we're honest about it. One of the things is well, let's look at Daniel. He had magician, and obviously he was astrologists were involved with this, and although there is certain warnings in the Old Testament and things that were said in the Book of Revelation and others about in the last days, that at the end of the age, people that would be judged. We really don't really learn that much about astrology, what it really means, its full implications. And actually, when we think about how Christians are behaving, and I don't want to get too side railed from this, but let's just be honest about things when it comes to how many of them are out there saying today is the end of the world, tomorrow's going to be the end of the world, it's going to end the world, end of the world is going to happen in 2 years. This is all predicting of the future. So, it's a form of sorcery and divination. That's exactly what it is, if you want to be honest about it. And that's been going on for thousands of years. So it's the kind of there is a bit of the pot calling the kettle black here. Okay. So what I want to do is try to understand this a little more, not be so judgmental about how's it going, War Criminal 7. How's it going, Judy and Sheldon? So, yeah. So let's talk more about this. So about this, personality traits and how that works. Now, the only one out here, as far as on my side and Jeff's, is I do have my son's full one with as far as his birth date and the hour and the time. I don't know if that's something you can use. I know he's not, but he's only 11 and a half. There's certain questions you're going to have to ask.
Right.
They'll do it anyway. So.
Right. So that makes it a little challenging. But listen, I've even done this for newborn babies but you can't know for sure whether this stuff is accurate for children because they really haven't developed their personality very well yet, especially a newborn baby. But if you can, I did it for Tony for Truth's granddaughter the day she was born. And,
really?
And of course, nobody could verify whether it was accurate or not, but it was still enjoyable to do because it gave them an idea of what kind of person and how they should treat or how they should raise the child to be most effective to connect on a personal level. Because if you think that a child has to learn the way that you learned, then you're not going to do a good job raising the child because more than likely that child is going to have a different perspective on things than you. Even though you are the parents, God made the child. And if you can take and I've proven it to myself by looking at hundreds of people that I know and reading this birth chart and saying, wow, that's amazingly accurate about who that is, why he acts the way he does. You know, he holds grudges, but I don't. And the reason is, and it reads it out to you in black and white. While my brother is a Scorpio, which that's just his sun sign, but because it's way deeper than that, as we'll find out. Because I want to read at least my chart, because I know, Mike, you know me, and you will be able to realize when we read the stuff that how accurate it is, because you at least know my personality well enough. So doing your son would be it would be interesting for you, because you would recognize some things in there. There might be some things in there that he hasn't fully developed yet. You're just like, well, I don't see that. Maybe it'll happen, as he grows and matures and comes
Yeah,
into
well,
his
let's be
own.
honest too. With our culture today, or is arrested development, it's like I don't even know if you can even do a chart for the average person until they're probably in their 30s or 40s. To be honest with you, right? I mean, the way things are. I mean, some people are different. Some people more, based on, education, family experience, to mature a lot faster.
Sure.
But I mean, there's a lot of, including I would say myself, adult children. You know what I mean? They're just like,
And that's definitely true. Even my personality, which I feel like I have a really strong personality, but it was just 5 or 6 years ago, and I was still going to church. Which, when you go to church, you try to conform to at least that society. And since I have left church or stopped going to church, I have really, embraced who I am, and I've taken full confidence in who I am and my relationship with God. And I don't care if I agree with anybody else, or if they agree with me or not. It's like, I am who I am. And and I'm 46 years old now, and just 5 or 6 years ago. So it took me until my 40s to really fully come into my own, I think.
oh yeah, it takes forever, doesn't it?
Now,
Uh,
I have a question for Jeff too, and I'm not sure. I've been interested in kind of like the challenge of astrology with free will versus predestination, and I'm sure you've thought about this yourself. What is predetermined with the different planets and the different psychologies involved with each planet is, in a way, predestining our personalities, our psyches. How much of this do you feel can be changed, and is it a matter of just the stars' alignment?
Well, I think Mike knows what I would say to this, because I was a Christian for a long time. I've been a Bible student for practically my whole life. I am an intellectual thinker, as Mike pointed out. I'm not emotional or sensational. I'm intellectual. But we should see that as we read my chart later. But I believe in a sovereign God who created all things, including all people, and his fingerprints are in our creation in the form of this astrology stuff that we'll go through, the birth charts. So I believe God created me who I am, and I'm the one who is just now figuring out who God made me. So as far as free will, I don't believe in free will at all. Do we have what is called volition? Sure. Do we have a capacity to choose and think and reason and rationalize? Of course we have that, but it's all
Define,
under
Jeff.
the parameters.
Jeff, define
Huh?
volition for us. Define volition for us. It's not a word
Well,
that's used very often.
right. I had to look it up when somebody mentioned it. Well, it was Tony for Truth that mentioned it the other day, and so I think that's a good word to use. It's just talking about the capacity to choose. Of course, we have the capacity to choose, but are we independent or free from God? Does God influence the decisions or the outcomes? And I would say absolutely. God influences why you choose what you choose and what's going to happen after you choose it. But did I actually reason and rationalize whether I wanted to turn right or left? Of course I did. But did God influence it? I would say, of course he did. So I'm not saying that we are brain dead robots, that we have no value or individualism. But I would say that God is so intimately connected with His creation, everybody, not just me, you, everybody, that He is actually involved in every single decision you make, whether you choose to eat a bowl of cereal at night before bed, or whether you choose Cheerios or Raisin Bran. And
Yep.
I just believe that if there is a sovereign God and He is over everything, then He has no choice but to. And the Bible, it's founded in the Bible. The Bible says that God has numbered all your days when as yet there were none of them. Before you were fashioned in your mother's womb, I knew you. And and as it relates to birth charts, I believe that whether you're a premature baby born or an overdue baby born, or you're born exactly on the due date, or whatever it is, the reason your mother didn't break water or whatever it is to initiate the pregnancy is because God was waiting until the stars were aligned for you to be born, because He wanted to create you specifically in the way that He had designed for you to be created.
So I would agree, and I think that astrology can be used as a tool to illuminate yourself, to get more answers about who you are, not necessarily to change who you are.
Exactly, and that's what got me interested in it, because I don't know how long ago it was. I feel like it was in 2015 or so that I started digging into this. So maybe 7 years ago or so. And since then, I've been running everybody's chart that I come across and proving it to myself that this stuff means something. But the reason I was interested is because me and my wife were struggling, and I'm like, man, I need to figure out what's going on, because she speaks a totally different language than me. And so,
Of course.
you read this book about the 5 love languages. You try to figure out what's going on and why you're not communicating well, and that didn't mean as much to me as when I started digging into astrology birth charts, and I'm like, holy cow, this just rings a bell. She is this way because that's the way God made her, and you can't expect her to see things the way you see it, because she is a different person with a different personality, and you need to learn how to work with that personality within her parameters, and it helps.
It's interesting. We'll definitely go into this. First of all, Eric, you look so much like a Freemason. He's not one, but he does look like one.
Well, he's so small on my screen, I can't even see him.
Is it the hat?
It's the hat and it's the Egyptian stuff behind you, man. Anyways, I'm just giving you a hard time. Yeah, so let's do this. Let's look into this. Let's see some evidence. We'll see it before our eyes how this works, because we could talk all day about what everyone else does, right? As far as going through the signs, and let's see it in action.
Do you want me to? Can I share my screen and pull up the chart and stuff?
Yes, you can. All you have to do is just press. It says present. And I will stop sharing my screen. And now all you have to do in the bottom of the page there, they have a row of buttons, right? Mute, stop, camera settings, present.
Well, I've got chat, cam, and mic, and more. I don't see present.
There should be a present right there. Everyone should be able to present.
Well, I'm still in this.
Oh, hold on a second. Let's see. Maybe I need to do one thing because guess author. I must author guess and see if you can play a second broadcasting growth and business.
Hey, while he gets this, I'm getting a cup of coffee.
You don't have a button there somewhere that says present? You got to have that, because I get it too when I get some. There's something there.
Well, So I think I'm still in the studio. I mean, I'm definitely not in YouTube right now. I just clicked on the link and
No,
joined
you
the
just want
studio.
to stay in studio. It's being presented on YouTube. It's been presented on Facebook and I think Twitter. So, anyways, so yeah, either somewhere in studio. Once you enter in studio, you've been accepted. There should be a sentence that says presenting or present
Yeah. So my
or
only options
share.
are I have a mic on the left, then cam, so I can mute myself. I can turn my camera on or off. I can go to the chat, uh, and then it has more. But in the more section,
Oh,
it only.
maybe. Hold on a second. Maybe I'm having a brain fart here. Still, mic setting name edit key. Extra camera so I didn't share. Oh, I need my friend I am
So
doing
so so
okay.
you
It's a solo there. That's solo. Now somewhere there should be. Do me a favor and press that your screen there and see if you see anything that's presented. Why? How's that? Oh, crap. Maybe this is what it is. Good play out. Thanks. If for those that have patience, thank you here.
Just enjoying my coffee, Mike.
That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong.
well, everybody's bigger now. I can see. So another option would be you could just pull it up uh, and you could read it instead of me, but uh, then we could just stop and talk about things as it's pertinent.
So sorry here. I never had actually no one that's so far. I haven't had to deal with this. Share screen. Do you have a button anywhere that says share screen?
No. So the other thing is I really don't have to share the screen. I could just pull it up and read it. So it helps so we could
Well,
both pull it up.
let me ask you to put in the chat if you can the link to this software or is it something that's online or you have to pay for it
Sure.
or
No, it's free. It's just online. Yeah.
all right, so send us a link, will you? Sorry about the delay here, guys. I don't understand why when I'm on other people's shows we never had I can share my screen. Somehow I have to give you permission to do that, right? But I don't see where I'm or opening it up. But you do that while you listen. If I figure it out while we're doing this, it will pop up. Okay. If I can't figure it out, just keep going anyways, because it's information. Most people are listening anyways, right? It's a video, right? So an audio. So
So I'm going to the website that I have been using recently is called justastrologythings.com. And you can all you do is put in your date of birth, the time of birth, and the location of birth, and then it just pulls up your whole chart. And it's elaborate. So we'll probably get bored of reading the whole thing. But if you read, 5 or 6 or 7 different aspects of it, it will become apparent that it knows what it's talking about. So if you want to do it with me, I'm putting in my birth date is August 14th, 1976.
I wonder why you're frozen. Okay.
Well, you can hear me though, right?
Yeah. Are you tense? Is that something you want, or is it August 14th? It's probably because you're okay. August 14th when?
August 14th, 1976.
1976. My son was actually the 16th of August. Okay. That's a Leo, huh?
Yes, August 16th will also be
I seem
Leo.
to have a lot of friends or people in my life that are freaking born in August, and I'm a Capricorn. I wonder where that is.
All right, so I've got it in mind. I'm about to hit submit, but August 14th, 1976, on justastrologythings.com. It'll say calculate your birth chart or something. The birth time is 9 p.m. I think my birth certificate says 8:59 p.m., but it's 1 minute. It's the same. I've run it both times. It's exactly the same. So it's just
Okay.
easier to put in 9 p.m. And the location is Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Now, you could put Nashville, Tennessee, because it's both in Middle Tennessee, so the stars would look essentially the same in Murfreesboro and Nashville. There might be a situation where the nearest, so if you're born in a really small town, but there's a big town not far from you, it's still in the same time zone. So I think it's really related to the time zone. So if you're, as long as you're not going from central time zone to eastern time zone or something, then the sky should essentially look the same. So whether you're born in Dallas, Texas, or Nashville, Tennessee, I'm assuming that that's probably not going to make a difference in the chart. It would probably be exactly the same if I put in Dallas versus Nashville, because it's in the same time zone. But I wish I could share my screen, because then I can show you. I've got it, the whole thing pulled up now, and it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
How much
About-
if it's that easy to access, and have, just send me the link and I'll put it on my screen and I'll punch it. All they do is just put in the numbers.
Yeah, you
The
just put
date?
in your date of birth, time of birth, and
Well, this-
location of birth, and boom,
put
you
a
got
link. If you could put a link in the chat, if you can, and then
it.
if you can't, then email
Well,
it, or if you can't do that, don't worry about it.
Of course I can do it. So let me go to chat. Paste. There's the link. Now I got the link to my chart, but I don't think it will open up my chart. I think it will take you to where you have to put in the information. It would be nice if that link was to where I had already put in my information and this is the chart, but I've tried that before and I was disappointed that it didn't do what I wanted it to do. But there's like 24 aspects, which it looks like I can only click on maybe 13 of them. But it shows you. And a lot of people who understand astrology could look at this chart without even reading any of the descriptions and say, "Oh wow, you're a Sun Leo, your Moon is Aries, your Mercury, Venus, and Mars are all in Virgo." You see, Virgo is another air sign, which is related to intellectual thought. It's not an emotional thought. It's not. So, you've got fire, water, air, and earth. There are 4 aspects, and since there are 4 elemental aspects and 12 months, that means there are 3 months that are sharing the same elemental aspect. So as far as the sun, or as far as my sun sign, since I am a Leo born in August, the only other 2 fire signs, so Leo is a fire sign. There's only 2 other fire signs. It's Aries and Sagittarius, I believe. So, fire, elemental fire would be what you can see. You can see a passion and an energy in somebody. So if you just know what the air signs are, the water signs, the fire, and the earth signs, then, so you're a Capricorn, right? So Capricorn is an earth, so it's an earth sign. So what you should see right off the bat is that I come across as a fiery personality with a lot of heat and passion and energy. Whereas an earth sign is a lot more stable and consistent, not kind of over the top or too heated or passionate, but stable and consistent.
I would
So
say
Mike-
that is descriptive of Mike.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think, Jeff, in our relationship? Would that be the case with me? Because it's definitely
Sure.
you. What you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the very first time I ever saw any of your TikTok videos, and you were just, had your Bible open, you had a pen pointing to a scripture and saying, "Why does this say that Jesus was going to come before they died. And I'll take that same verse and I'll say, what is wrong with you people? Why do you believe something that is obviously not what the Bible says? The Bible says that that they were going to see it, but you're sitting here saying nobody's ever seen it. What's wrong with you? So we can take the same verse and we just give a different perspective when we read the exact same thing, even though we're trying to make the same point.
What I
think I'm
find,
more. I think I'm more of a good sidekick, and you're more of a leader. And then when it comes to, we'll find out about Eric. But Eric is. Why are you,
what's
Eric?
interesting about this particular chat is we have a fire sign, we have an earth sign, and I'm an air sign. I'm Libra.
Yeah, and so I even studied this because this, if you familiarize yourself with all the signs and their categories, their elemental signs as well as their, I don't know what they call it, but what they call it is mutable. Uh, what is it? So a mutable sign is a sign that is, that enjoys change. They get bored easy and they want to change things up. But then you've got cardinal sign, which is
that sounds like Eric.
Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and cardinal essentially is associated with first things or being first. And so the Aries sign is the like March, where it's the spring of the year. It's the first month in the new year because spring starts the year, and winter. Winter's the end or the death, but spring is the life. It's the new life with all the flowers blooming and everything. What I can't think of what the other one is called. So it will be. There's only 3 of them though. There are 4 elemental signs, but there's only 3 of whatever they call these things, which would be mutable, cardinal, and
deacons.
No, deacons. It has something to do with being stable. So because mutable means changeable, and whatever word they associate with these that I can't think right now means so Taurus is going to be, I think, the primary sign that would be associated with this in my mind anyway, because it's so stable and hard-headed and consistent. It's like you cannot change a Taurus's mind, no matter how hard you try, no matter how good your arguments are. A Taurus is a bull, a hard-headed bull, and they believe what they believe. They do things the way they want to do it, and there is nothing you can say or do to change their mind because they are stuck. So, and I didn't review this before, so I'm just if I'd reviewed this before, then I would remember the name.
Before we go further, I just have to ask this question because it's maybe you guys have observed this. Now, when we were younger men, full of testosterone, and worried about what other people think about us, and trying to make, and just busy being young men, and building our own lives. This stuff, did you guys think about? Because I never. This is like, first of all, I'm 55. This is the first time I'm actually even attempting to understand it, right? And I usually, well, how do I say this with being tactful? Okay, guys like us, heterosexual straight guys, it's not too often that you see that. I'm saying it wrong because let's take that back. Now, it doesn't even have to be straight. There's this sense of this. Today there's a effeminate to do this, right? We're about other more masculine things. We're growing up, right? It's about football and it's about kicking, chewing gum and kicking ass type of thing. It's not about this. Well, but it turns out that it's been part of our life so long, and so we get older in life and we've settled down a little bit, and the testosterone has dropped a little bit, and you're just more willing to look at this stuff. You know what I mean? And maybe also because of religion and all that stuff. Do you guys recognize this too? Or is this something that I'm just projecting on because of my own personal experience? I mean, were you guys ever thinking about this in your teens, in your 20s, in your 30s?
Yes.
Well, I think, like I said earlier, I can't remember when I first learned that I was a Leo. In my mind, it's like I always knew it. And that has always meant something to me. Now, I didn't start studying it until I was 40 years old.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. You might have always known your sign, but it didn't mean anything to you, right? You're just kind of there
Well,
in the background lurking.
it at least it meant something, but I didn't have a deep understanding of it. It just meant it meant something.
Right.
So let's read. I'll click on my sun sign, which is Leo, since we're talking so much about it, and this is the. Well, let me make one comment about the sun sign. Well, it'll say it when I read it. So let me just read it because it'll say what I'm trying to get across. All right, so this is just my sun sign, and it's based on where the sun was when I was born. Oh, here, fixed is what I was looking for. It's called equality. So the symbol is the lion, which we all know that. The element is fire, which that's what I've already described. The quality is fixed. What that means is, well, I can even click on it and it'll explain it. Fixed signs believe that slow and steady wins the race. They are good at working hard on projects until they are completed. This isn't difficult for fixed signs, for they love to do so. These people are determined, stable, and strong. They possess the persistence and patience to make it to the finish line. Fixed signs are very self-reliant. They are powerful, yet purposeful. They don't waste motions. They move steadily and patiently toward their objectives. And it goes on, but that kind of gives you the point of what a fixed sign is. There are 4 fixed signs. It's a Taurus, the hard-headed Taurus, the Leo, the determined lion, the Scorpio, which my brother's a Scorpio, but so that just means he's hard-headed. He makes up his own mind. He chooses his own path, but he does it in a different sort of way. And the Aquarius, even though the Aquarius is the water bearer sign, it's an air sign, not a water sign. And so air signs carry with it the intellectual aspect, whereas water is more mutable because, water conforms to its container, whereas air is, just acts in a different way. So that's the word I was looking for earlier, fixed. It is a fixed sign, and there's only 3. There's fixed, mutable, and cardinal. So the Leo sign is a fixed sign, which is going to play into how determined that I am to accomplish purposes. Sun is the ruler, and it is in the 5th house. Now, I haven't studied the houses, but what that means is, like, if you look on the eastern horizon, the 2-hour segment of the sky would be called, I don't know if it's called the 1st house, but whatever is on the eastern horizon would be in the whatever house. If it's directly overhead, they might call that the 6th house, and if it's on the western horizon, it might be, some other house. But it's the position in the sky.
Jeff,
so now let me.
Can I ask you a question before we get any further in this? Because I got the chart up on some sharing. Should I enter in this? Would this help me or everyone else visualize better what you're saying?
Sure. Go ahead.
Should I type in your name, birthday?
Well, the name means nothing. So I'm going to turn my camera off because I have to pull the phone up to my eyeball to see it. I don't want y'all to see that, but the name means nothing. You can even leave it blank, but put in August 14th, 1976.
All right, here we go. So if this helps out, and August 14th, 1976.
And hopefully nobody will try to steal my identity or something because they know my birthday and location. So I guess that's potentially dangerous if somebody tries to
stop. You want me to stop or not?
No, I don't care. You go ahead.
I mean, I you know what I can do? That's kind of pointless to do that as well than just me looking at it. Yeah. Well, it says it wants a location. That's what I'm not kind of The date, just location. Once you get that, just forget this. I'm not
No,
doing this.
go ahead. I don't care. It's fine. I don't think there's a
Okay,
problem. So
you're a reasonable, a logical man. So if you say there's no problem,
9 p.m. and now just put in Nashville, Tennessee. Don't click that. Nashville, Tennessee. Make sure you don't pick Nashville, India, or anything like that. Should say Davidson County.
Tennessee. Can I just use abbreviation or have to fill it all out? Okay.
Yeah, just whenever it pulls it up in the drop down, click the drop down.
Why am I having a brain fart? Okay, because I'm stupid. Anyway. All right.
I can't see, but I would imagine it would be that top selection. Surely, click on the. If it says Nashville, Tennessee in the drop down menu, click that.
Okay, got that. Submit. There we go.
Well, see, you didn't do what I told you to do. I said click the drop down menu. Don't type it in because it needs to pick it from the list. So type in Nashville. And
okay, I can do that. I can do all that while you're talking. You keep going, and I'll get this all sorted out. So sorry about that, because we'll be here all day watching me and my return. No, I better not say that. You can't say anything anymore. You notice that? So much freedom. We can't even say the words we grew up with. My gosh.
Even if you're talking about yourself, right?
I know. You can't even be sarcastic and cynical towards your own self, right? And that's like part of my heritage, my culture.
Now here's the moment of truth. You got to click something from the drop down box, and it's got to say Nashville, Tennessee, Davidson.
That's what I'm doing wrong, and I wasn't listening.
And is it not the very first option? I mean, I can't see it well enough to see what it says.
I do not see that. Maybe if I put a space, maybe put a T.
Or a comma and a T. And did you spell Nashville Nashville 2 L's?
Did I put too many? It's not showing it, man. But anyways, I don't see Tennessee at all. That's what's driving me nuts. I see there's a Washington County. There's a Nashville County, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Nashville. So even I'm just gonna.
Well, okay, then delete Nashville. I'm shocked that it can't find Nashville. Put in Murfreesboro. MURFREE.
FREE. SBO.
RO.
Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Yeah, does it say Rutherford County, Tennessee?
No, man. It's like it's saying.
All right. Well, then after Murfreesboro, put comma space TENN.
I guess you'd be better off with that, right?
Does it say Rutherford County right there in the top?
Nope. I mean, you can say, can you see what I'm doing, Eric? Because I don't see, and it's kind of.
No, it does say. I can see it. It says Rutherford County at the very top. Click on that one.
Too, Mike.
Yeah. Now hit submit.
Submit. Okay. So once again, it's my fault. Okay.
All right. There we go. So this is the chart. Now you can click on these things and read about it. All those blue words means you can click on it and it will give you the details. So I would start at the top and I would read the sun sign first, which is Leo. And you see overall everything on the right hand side, all of that is based on the time of birth. See it. It says the ascendant. That is sometimes called the rising sign. That's what I'm used to calling it. It just means what constellation was on the eastern horizon the moment you were born. So at 9 p.m., you see, at 9 p.m., the sun had already, gone over the horizon. It was on the other side of the earth. But
Okay.
Pisces was on the eastern horizon the moment that I was born. So that's why Pisces is my rising sign. And it'll be interesting to read the comparison between my Leo sun sign and my Pisces rising sign, because the Leo is the dominant lion, but yet the Pisces is a fish that is an emotional fish that just swims with its neighbors, and is in and absorbs the emotions of those around them. So it's really interesting how I combine the lion with the emotional fish, and I want to read those. But then you get back over on the left hand side. So the moon is Aries. Aries is it's another. It's like the war. The war sign, the communication sign, or uh, one of the ancient Greek gods. I think Ares was the war god. So,
Okay.
but then
Hold
you've
on
got
a
those.
second, Jeff. Do you understand what he's saying, Eric?
Yes. I mean, there's a lot more to it, though, as far as like there's exaltation lords, which are your planetary dominating planet of each zodiac.
Right. Well, that's right at base level. I mean, it was just. I just want to make sure that you understand, because this, like I told you guys, this is like learning Mandarin Chinese language, because it was the first
Right.
time I've ever been exposed to it. So I'm going to listen, but I want you to comment, Eric, because you have some experience with this. I'm just going to learn and listen. Okay.
So I
Well, we're
guess.
all learning. So like I know a little of everything, but a lot of nothing. You know what I mean?
Well, and this goes really super deep too. So, to make it simple, all you would do is just click on these blue words and read it, and you don't have to understand anything. I guess I'm trying to share with you some things that I've figured out as I've looked at this stuff, where we could make it super simple, and all we do is just read what these blue words say, because it gives you the
It seems like it's something that if you spend a little bit of time, it become quite clear and self-evident. But it's just, you know what I'm saying.
right. It's just the more you study it, the more these bells start going off in your head. Like when I was talking about the different elemental signs and the different qualities, you see the similarities between Aries and Sagittarius and Leo, because they're all fire signs, but yet they demonstrate those fire elements in a different way. And so it'll say, one fire might be like a match. When you strike a match, and there'll be just a little fire on a match that burns hot for a second, but then fizzles out. That would be like the Aries. The Aries has a quick fire, but it goes out quickly like a match. And the way that the Leo demonstrates fire is different than the way the Sagittarius demonstrates fire. So in the water elements, you can have one sign maybe more like a river, whereas another one would be like an ocean, or another could be like the water vapor or something. So, but anyway, let's just read to keep it simple. I've pulled up on my screen my sun sign Leo, and that's what I was going to read. So,
Okay.
for the sake of the audience, I guess you could just click on that blue Leo beside the sun, and it'll be the same thing that I'm reading from.
Okay.
And as we read, since you know me, and maybe some of the people in the audience know me and have seen me on TikTok, some of this stuff should ring a bell. So Leo is the 5th sign of the zodiac. People born under this sign are usually impossible to miss, for they love the center stage. You see, a lot of people want to say that
Well, that's
all
you,
these
Jeff, 100%.
well,
We're talking
right.
about.
So
We got
a lot of
Jeff
people
already. Next, all right.
So some people that want to that are skeptical, or they feel like this is voodoo or mysticism that is satanic or anti-God, they want to read this and say this is just generic stuff that applies to everybody equally. It absolutely is not. It's already unique from the very first sentence. Not everybody is willing to take center stage, and now some people And there's a lot of times that I don't want to take center stage, but I do, and even when I'm put on center stage, uh, I deal with it better than other people.
Well, that's part of
So
working and your strengths, and some people like you have a pretty good mind for those when it comes to scriptures or whatever it is, memory. A guy
right,
like me, I'm good at research and study, but I'm not a great presenter. I know I'm not, but I do what I do.
right.
So this is,
All right, so let me keep reading. So I know that you see from the very first sentence that this is not a generic statement. This is something that is applicable to me, and not equally applicable to other people. So second sentence, making an impression is their number one priority, and through their personal magnetism, it's easy for them. They are ambitious, and their individuality pushes them to accomplish a lot. Leos are typically very talented and radiate warmth and enthusiasm. So, so even though I'm willing to take center stage, I've got the Discord, I've corralled all you people, get you in there, and everybody's got a different perspective. And I want everybody to be for, even though I kind of demanded some people shut their mouth recently. Uh,
so.
I want everyone to feel welcome and loved in there because I have a lot of passion and compassion, and I want everyone to feel welcome. And I don't want to be viewed as a dictator. I want to take center stage, but I don't want to be viewed in a negative light, and that might show up a lot more in my rising sign. But let's keep reading this. Second paragraph. The sign is courageous. So that plays into being willing to take center stage because a lot of people are not willing to step out and let other people look at them or listen to them. Whereas I am more than willing to step out and let people hear what I have to say. People born under this sign are strong and fearless. They win others over with their unwavering courage, and they live to take charge. Leos have a confident charm about them, and they typically are athletic, loving fun and games both indoors and outdoors. This sign is devoted to what they are passionate about and have strong loyalty to those they love. They also love drama. Now, when I first read this and it said they love drama, I was like, no way, dude, I do not love drama. But then I was fighting with Static. Uh, you know who Static is, right?
Of course, everyone. I
Yeah,
can't forget him.
so I was fighting with Static, and he and I were going over this, and I was like, "Nah, I don't love drama. It really irks me, man. I get mad when there's drama." But I realized that that's something that I feed off of. A lion likes to take a nap until it's time to go get an antelope. And whenever that's time to get that antelope, the lion loves it. He loves that chase. He loves the energy, the fight, the takedown, and the accomplishment, the victory. That's drama. If he was just lazy and wanted to lay around and take a nap all day, then he wouldn't love the drama. I realized that I actually do enjoy the drama of a good fight sometimes. Even though it gets on my nerves and somebody's calling me names and I don't like it, and I have to, lash out with my claws and teeth. I really find that I kind of enjoyed doing it, really. So
that kind of seems like a characteristic of Mars as well.
Yep. So the next paragraph. The lion is a symbol of the Leo, which makes perfect sense as Leos tend to be strong and dignified. This sense of power allows them to get things done. Having this sign on your team is very beneficial, for the lion is eager to see projects through. You see, there are some signs that are really good at digging into the details, analyzing everything, thinking about all the different possibilities, and pursuing that to an end. But the lion is more like the leader. The lion does not want to get into the details about how to get the project done, but the lion wants to get the project done. I've seen a TikTok video, and this, boy, is such a wonderful video. It's about a lion and a lioness hunting, and these wildebeest are just running full bore, right past the lioness, and she's watching them all go through. She's waiting for an opportunity to pick the right one, and they're just the whole herd is about to pass them by, and this female lioness never can make up her mind about which one she wants to go after. So the male line with his big mane, and he just comes out of nowhere and he dives right in the middle of this herd of wildebeest going full bore, and he just takes whichever one he hits when he dives into the herd. It's amazing. And he drags this wildebeest out right next to this female line. Like, she says, "Dang, dude, like you really went after that one." And it just shows a lot of personality of the difference in the male and the female line.
Right.
And if you hadn't seen that video, man, it'd be awesome to go watch it.
We got a lot of
especially
amazing videos, those short videos like that on TikTok. That's about one of the best things about TikTok. Most of it's garbage.
and
Hold on a second. Keep that thought. I am listening. I won't be commenting because I have to use the restroom. So, it's so Eric, if there's any comments that need to be made, please make them. I am listening. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I've just been studying from a book written by Demetria George, who is studies Hellenistic astrology approach. And what I'm interested in is seeing the different astrological approaches of the different ancient cultures and the meaning between that, because there are a lot of differences in different cultures of the past as far as astrology goes. I'm not sure if you've seen a lot of it. Have you discovered a little bit of that, Jeff?
Well, I've just looked at it from the standpoint of explaining individual personalities, not cultures or civilizations, or I haven't even looked into a lot of this. I've talked about the different ages. The song, the age of Aquarius, and people have made a lot of speculations about the age of Taurus, looking at the Bible and saying back when Moses' day, they were in the age of Taurus. That's why they would worship the bull and all that. And then when Jesus shows up, then all of a sudden you get in the age of Pisces or something. And you talk about the fishers of men, and the fish is the representative of Jesus, and something like that. And then we're talking about moving into the age of Aquarius, where people are, and now there may be something to that. But I have not looked into that deeply. My experience has been pretty much exclusively understanding individual personalities, understanding my own personality, and my wife and my kids and my brother and my sister, my coworker, and it actually helps me in dealing with people on a daily basis when you understand their personality. And for your kids, even, it's good to even understand what their personality is like, because you can help direct them to their career choice based on their their personality. Some people would love a job where they can just sit quietly and crunch numbers at a computer desk all day long and not see a single person. Some people would be miserable, and you can figure that out simply by looking at this birth chart. Is this the kind of person who wants to sit in a computer office by themselves all day and crunch numbers, or is this the kind of person who wants to be out in front of others and lead and accomplish goals, and or fight battles or something?
I guess I've always been interested in where things came from, what I'm studying, and when I first started studying this, I wanted to see, okay, well, where did this come from, and how did they use it? And you can take that approach with biblical texts, ancient cultural philosophies, belief systems, and I kind of go from there. And I like to study as much as possible about, okay, what am I studying? What does this mean?
Yeah. So looking at this chart, see, the thing that I have been reading is kind of just an overview, but if you can scroll down and see that it talks about love. So it talks about how the Leo handles love. The next one is friends and family. So it talks about how to interact with Leos on a friend and family level, and then career and money. So I was talking about how you can use this to understand the type of career that would be most suited for your children, and this is how you can actually, make a practical application uh, in your daily life to this sort of thing.
Well, what I've been interested in is the calendars and the dates. Like, and when we look at our astrological charts, they're based on our months, the days that we were born, and time sequence. Now, when I go back and I study the origins, this has changed over a lot of time periods. So my question is, are we studying the exact calendar dates that we're supposed to be looking at? And if there's bleed over processions, the Earth's axis moving a 26,000 year procession, then maybe we're not even looking at the right zodiac sign for our birth.
Well, that may be true, but I certainly, when I read about Leo, it seems to hit me like nail on the head, So, and what everything I've looked at so far, and so what the calendar says is not as important as where the sign and the constellations are in the sky. So, and so calendars can change. Even the Jewish calendar, what they did with the Jewish calendar is they would have 12 months of 30 days per month, but every few years that would put them off cycle, and they would be planting their crop when the weather was not appropriate. So they had to add an extra month in there to say, you know what, this is what we call leap year. We get 13 months this time instead of 12, because it's been gradually drifting off the consistent cycle of planting and harvesting.
And even the Romans acknowledged this at some point when they switched from the Julian calendar to the Gregorian, which they were the Julian calendar was adding a month just to make up for that inexact time.
Right. So it's kind of inconvenient in the sense that we have 356 days in a year, because it's not a good even. Well, it's 356 and a quarter, 365 and a quarter, right?
In a quarter, yeah.
Right. So every 4 years, we get an extra day. So
the advent of the leap year comes in, and to try to associate that fractional difference.
Yeah. So let's read a little bit about my zodiac, and then Eric, if you're willing to put yours in, it would be interesting. Even though I don't know you at all, it would be a good contrast to compare what these things says about me, and then pick you or someone else.
I'm totally willing.
But where are we at, first of all, in all this stuff? It sucks being an old man, that prostate. Anyways, where are we at?
Well, I'm still reading essentially where you are, because on the screen it's no, I haven't gone down to love yet, but okay. I guess essentially in the first section it's just talking about how Leos lead, and they track things to completion. Whereas if we were reading Aries sign, an Aries loves to start a project, but they usually get bored quickly and they don't track it to completion. So if you're an Aries, then you may not even ever pick a career, because you say, oh, this would be awesome to be this. But then as you start getting into it, you're like, this is not as cool as I thought it was. And you want to try something else. Whereas a Leo just says, you know what, I just want to eat. And so I want to pick a job and I'll make it work no matter what it is. And I will dominate whatever field that I get into. So let's scroll down to love. Just read a little bit about love. Let's get real personal about me and my love language.
Here we go.
Let me call my wife in here to verify some of this stuff. But
okay.
So Leos are romantic. That's actually not true. For me, my wife will tell you I'm not romantic. I don't buy flowers. I don't plan secret outings, and if I want, and I don't even buy her anything for Christmas because I don't want to buy the wrong thing. And she said, "Well, I wanted this or that." I just say, whatever you want, you can get it. And she's like, "Okay," just she don't even want to be surprised anymore. She might be, like it on some level, but she would rather get what she wants than me buy her something that she doesn't want and just say that it was romantic.
Yeah.
But that's beside the point. So let's keep digging because I think some of this stuff is funny.
I share that too. I hate buying presents, because it's like it's always wrong. It's growing up and it's sidetrack. It's like the parents or whatever, Christmas presents. And you're like, I didn't want that. I didn't want that.
Right.
I don't know if you sound like a little selfish, but it's like it's the same thing.
Well, some people think as kids you're like, well, I just want a bunch of presents. I don't really care what it is. I just like the excitement of opening presents. But then when you get a pair of socks, you're like, this sucks. I don't want socks. I want something cool. But
oh man, it's in this thing like you celebrate Christmas. It's just because I have the daddy place and my son's mother, she has the house and the cottage and all that other crap, right? And they do the Christmas thing there. So, and every time it's like I buy something for my son, I think it's gonna be really awesome for him, and it's like, man, I just wasted all that money. Man, I just should have been better off just not even doing it because just wait until he asks for something and then give it to him. You know what I mean? So, but anyways, that's side tracks.
All right, so this romantic idea depends on how you define romantic. I'm definitely not romantic by some people's definition, but I think some of this stuff will apply. So they like to flaunt their love and going above and beyond in romance. In romance is what they give and expect. Leos crave attention, so I can identify with that. That there is definitely, if our relationship gets stagnant or stale, it really upsets me. So I like there to be some spark there. It's I'm a fire sign, so if there's not some kind of fire or flame, then I get upset, and my wife will definitely attest to that. So partners of people born under this sign must give great doses of it, but not too much, so that the lion is always chasing it. Though a Leo's career and family life may be stellar, friends of a Leo may cringe at their romantic choices. Leos are dramatic, and so may be their love life. My love life is dramatic because when things don't go like you want, then I will make a scene with just in my personal life, in private usually, hopefully. If a Leo's mate makes them feel like royalty, the Leo may stay, even if that mate is a loser. That's weird. So it's just saying, a Leo is the king, and so the Leo likes to be praised. And so if you're not feeding the ego of a Leo, then things could get ugly,
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate, but that's just the truth. Leos must be aware of this because though having a relationship is nice, this sign must choose someone that can carry their own weight. So in this way, it's saying that that the Leo needs someone who can actually feed into their ego a little bit, and it kind of hurts
It sounds like I made the right decision as a father with my son being a Leo, right? It's only 2 days difference from you. Is that I have decided to be a celibate hermit. So and just make sure that I always have enough time for him and not have it be
right. So when you show a Leo attention, then that builds them up. It fills their cup. It makes them feel loved, and so it's important if you have a Leo in your life that you show them some attention because they need it. I mean, it will definitely
something.
right. So loyalty is very important to Leos, and they give it to their mate no matter what, unless their current partner is neglecting them. Attention and dazzling new person comes along. So Leos have big hearts, so their generosity and warmth in relationships, that's tying into the fire sign, the warmth and compassion, are addictive to partners. Overall, Leos must learn to find a mutual, loving, and respectful relationship in order to find stability and love. So you can't just put a Leo on a shelf in a love relationship and expect it to go well, because when you neglect a Leo, the Leo will come out and you will know about it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So friends and family, do we want to keep on with this? Because it's interesting.
You're the captain in the ship right now, so you tell us.
Well, we could. I don't. It could take forever. So let's back up and hit the back button. And I want to read some, because that gives at least a good summary of the Leo sun sign. And for me personally, if let me look at your screen and see what yours look like. So hit the back button.
Where is to just this one up here?
Yeah, right there. It should take you to the full chart where you can see all. Yeah, that. So next, I want to click on the right next to ascendant. It says Pisces, because this is a vast contrast to what we just read. So when we read about the Pisces rising, and I identify with this too, but it's drastically different than the Leo. So far we've only talked about Sun, and it just demonstrates the king of the jungle, or the king of his world, the dominant, compassionate leader.
Yeah, that's you. That's definitely you. I've known Jeff for 7 months now. Spent a lot of time, although we haven't necessarily talked personally a lot, but I've been there and just observed and listened, and that's you, man.
So you're talking about the Leo part, right?
Oh yeah, that is definitely you, man.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely me. So now let's read about the Pisces rising, because this is interesting to me. The rising sign, or ascendant, is the zodiac sign that is rising on the eastern horizon when a person is born. The ascendant is known as the mask one wears when meeting new people. It takes both appearance and personality, which is why some may identify with their ascendant more than they do with their sun sign. The rising sign represents the first personality trait people exhibit naturally or in uncomfortable situations. So go with the flow is the motto of Pisces rising. So, a Leo is not go with the flow kind of person. He's like, I'll go out and get whatever I want. I don't care if I'm the only one going. I'm the leader. But I have this Pisces in me as well that I can demonstrate in different ways. Go with the flow is the motto of the Pisces rising. They move about the world in a gentle, sometimes directionless way. They seem to be artists and admirers of peace, but their open minds and hearts can give them a changing persona. To others, Pisces rising may appear different from day to day. Some days they may be shy and quiet. Other days they may be passionate and talkative. They are very impressionable, possess a dreamy nature, and give off a kind-hearted personality. And see, I think it's really important for me not to be overbearing to people, because I know that I have a strong personality and a leadership personality. I'm willing to be a leader, but it's very important that I'm always reserved in that point of not wanting to be overbearing or too dominant, because I don't want people to think that I am that I don't have any compassion or understanding of their perspective. So it's that what did it say? Kind-hearted personality. And when I speak, I want people to identify with me. I want them to make a connection with me. I want them to say, man, that guy sounds like a nice guy. I could be friends with that guy. That's the way I speak, and I want people to come to that conclusion. And I've had people tell me all throughout my life, whether I'm at work and I'm giving a presentation, they say, man, I really identified with what you had to say, and I feel like I could just come and ask you questions. And I want to give that away, personality or aspect, to people when I speak, because I want them to view me as approachable. And that comes from this Pisces aspect. Pisces ascendants view the world how they feel like it, so they may not always. My wife turned the dryer on. Is that too loud? Y'all, I'm sure you can hear the.
Yeah,
washer
but
and dryer
I'm not paying attention to it. I'm listening to you, so don't worry about it.
Well, that's the washer and dryer in the background. Okay. So decision making is also a bit difficult for this sign. So I don't have a problem making decisions because I'm a Leo. But sometimes I will struggle with decisions because if it feels like I'm going to be running over other people, and I'm like, well, I don't want to run over other people. And I'm doing it right now because I know I'm doing most of the talking, and I know we've got you and Eric there, and I want to give you guys chance to talk. So I don't want to be too dominant, and I want to, hear what you have to say, but I also want to get my point across. So
Yeah.
it's just that's what that's talking about is decision making or the internal struggle about.
You definitely would go back a little bit to the dreamy nature. You possess dreamy nature, especially when it comes to your Unitarianism type of attitude.
Right. The pie in the sky, like the idea of universal salvation is what I thought you were talking about, not Unitarian. So,
that's what I mean.
Right. So even my desire for heaven, like I believe there is a heaven. It's it's this utopian in the sky that I have absolutely no evidence for, other than just reading the Bible. And so it might not be true at all, but I have a dream that it's true, and I want it to be true. And it's important to me that there be a possibility for this utopia in the sky after we die, because that's my dreamy nature. Comes from Pisces. So individuals of Pisces rising oppose any sort of labeling. I don't identify with that because I don't care if you call me a preterist. Some people don't call me a preterist. I'm like, I don't care if you call me a preterist. I don't care if you call me a universalist and a Unitarian and a Leo. You can even call me a Leo, or but if you call me a label that I don't like, then we'll fight about that.
Sure.
Their personality is changeable, so they would prefer not to be bound at any capacity. Now that's important. I correlate that with my Leo because I don't want to be put in a cage. You don't put a lion in a cage. And if you ever try to put me in a cage, now labels, I guess if you give me a label that I don't identify with, then that's like putting me in a cage that I don't want to be in, and I'm going to rip the bars and break out. But
right.
So what you're saying is never call you a Pisces.
Yeah. I mean, don't identify me as a primary Pisces. I'll take it as a secondary label, but not a primary. I'm primary Leo, secondary Pisces. But the only thing that I personally enjoy about the Pisces sign is that compassion. The approachability, the dreaminess of dreaming about heaven or something. That's all fine, but don't call me a follower. Say that I'm just going to follow what other people believe and I don't make up my own mind, because that's putting me in a cage that I don't identify with, and I'm going to break out of it.
Right. Yeah. So if we go any further, how much time do you got, Eric? Because I know you have to get ready for work at some point.
Well, I got a lot of time. I usually stay up a little bit later on Sundays.
Okay, just make sure everything's cool. And those who are listening to, obviously we're Jeff right now, but as I'm listening, I'm seeing it's very clear that this is, actually a good example. It might seem kind of, I don't know, maybe self-centered, but I'm asking him to do this, and I appreciate it. I think it's good to go through this thoroughly. Definitely, when we get done with it, we're going to know about Jeff,
right?
And so hopefully, it's also will turn around and when we apply this in our own lives, right? How to see things and how to look at things. So keep on going.
And I think so. So I want to. I think it's more important not to dig too deep into each aspect, because I would like to pull up Eric's chart and show the contrast between him and me, even though I don't know it.
Before we do that, I would like to focus on what you just discussed about Leo. The most dominating factor of Leo is the sun.
Right.
So the sun is what gives that sign its personality. And we associate the different planets, which give the different personality characteristics. So it's not just the sign itself; it's the planets that are empowering these signs.
Right, and we'll make that point when we go to my Mercury, Venus, and Mars because each planet stands for a different aspect of life. So like Mercury is going to be about communication because the Greek god Mercury, maybe it's the Roman god Mercury. I think it's Hermes in Greek.
Hermes.
Right. So that's the communication god. That's why they called Paul Hermes in the Bible, because he was a communicator. He was the chief speaker. So they called him Hermes because they figure whoever's the best communicator is the god Hermes.
Wow.
So hit the back button, and we'll go pull up my Mercury sign.
It's amazing how it's hidden here and there in the Bible.
Yeah, don't go to Mercury yet. Go to hit the moon Aries, because the moon Aries, that's what I'm going to pull up too. And so we'll just read just enough to get the concept, and I think everybody should go do this for themselves, because it'll help you, and read the whole thing for yourself. And even like I did when I was reading Pisces, it says, or maybe even in the Leo romance, I was like, well, depends on how you define romance, because I am not the kind of guy who will, go buy flowers and surprise my wife with, a date night or something, because we got kids and it's just too complicated. I'm not going to plan for babysitters.
Were you that way when you were younger? Because when you're younger,
yes.
It's about, hey, let's
listen,
get this reward, man.
No, absolutely. Listen, I remember when I was in my low 20s and I was in college and I was single and ready to mingle. And I was going to church. The church that I chose to go to, the reason I chose to go to that church is because there were at least 2 girls there that I wanted to date. And so I would be going to Bible class, and I remember speaking about romance in a Bible class. And I said, even at that point, when I was in the room with 2 girls that I wanted to date, that I'm not a romantic person. I said, to me, romance is like trying to trick girls into liking you. And I'm like, if you don't like me for who I am, then I don't want you around.
Well, that's good strategy, actually. You know what I mean? He kind of gets them working, and he said, see if I can get this guy to do what he says he won't do.
All right, so let's read a little bit about the moon, Aries. So the moon rules the moods and emotions. So the placement of the moon in your chart determines your inner self. So we've talked about, your primary sign and your rising sign, which is something that you do in uncomfortable situations. The moon is your emotions and your moods. And mine is Aries. So it's another fire sign in my moods. So my moods and emotions are very fiery, and you can tell when I'm mad. I don't hide it. The placement of the moon in your chart determines your inner self. It shapes your soul and what you need to feel emotionally secure. It controls what goes on below the surface of your personality. The moon sign may influence how strongly your sun sign is expressed, which is why people with the same zodiac sun sign may behave differently. If Aries is your moon sign, that means the moon was traveling through Aries when you were born. Overall, Aries moon possess passionate emotions, and that is who I am. That carries through from the Leo. So there's a similarity, because both of these signs are fire signs. So it carries passion in the fire sign. They charge ahead to get what they want, stopping at nothing. As the moon rules the inner self, Aries moon natives have an inner fire to them. This is why I'm a fiery person. Though this may not be always apparent to those on the outside, people of this sign tend to be emotionally independent, courageous, reactive, and expressive. They are natural leaders and competitive beings, constantly craving an outlet for their passions. Aries moons feel emotionally fulfilled when they initiate new tasks, act on impulse, and champion what they believe in. So this is a similarity between Aries and Leo, because they are both fire signs. And I gave you that example about the male lion that just charged into the herd of wildebeest. I think that lion had a little bit of Aries in him too, because he's like, I'm not even worried about the outcome. I'm just going to get this job done. Or maybe what's going to happen in the process. I just want to get the job done.
Right.
And so And I do love to act on impulse. I don't like to plan. In fact, I was taking a nap right before this, and I wasn't concerned in the slightest bit about what I was going to say or how I was going to say it. And if I stumble over my words, it's like I don't even care, because I will be who I am, and I will tackle the job when it gets here. But there's a lot of people that are not like that. A lot of people are going to stress and strain and study and be concerned about every word that they say and make sure that they come across exactly the way they plan to come across. But I'm very impulsive, reactionary, and this comes from both my Leo sun and my Aries moon.
Now, can I add something to this?
Yeah.
You know how we associate the different deity name Hermes with Mercury. The Babylonians actually designated Sin, sin, with the moon.
Well, that's interesting. What is the conclusion you draw from that?
Kind of from what you just described, like that inner impulse, maybe that erratic nature. It might be the derivative of where the word sin came from.
Right. Oh. And honestly, back when you're a Christian, back when I was a Christian, it's offensive to associate the Babylonian, Greek, and Roman and Sumerian gods with anything that has to do with Christianity, because they're like, no, that's all pagan stuff. It means nothing. It's all false. And
riddled in our New Testament, so what can you do about it?
Right. I mean, it's also in the Old Testament. I think you look at, Indy pointed out Psalm 104 that talks about how the sun travels across the sky and rides on the chariots of the clouds. Well, my goodness, dude. I mean, that's Egyptian sun worship. When even the Bible talks about Jesus coming on a cloud in the chariots in the sky. Well, that's what the SUN does. It rides on the clouds, but it's talking about the SON riding on the clouds. So you're telling me that there's absolutely no correlation at all to the sun riding on the clouds? Come on now, there's some kind of correlation.
You can definitely see that they're interwoven. They're interwoven within the text.
Yeah, and it's it's a mature way of looking at it and seeing it. It's very immature to think that the Hebrews would not be influenced by all around it.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's just silly to think it wouldn't.
Well, and when you look at the aspects of sun worship, SUN worship, all throughout history, and you have all these stories about the death of the sun at the winter solstice, and then the rebirth of new life, the resurrection in the spring. That's Easter. You have the resurrection in the spring month of the year, and you have death in the winter and the 3-day death of the sun before it starts turning around and coming back to life.
Well, know what got me going was when the 25th of supposedly the birth of Christ, right? When 6 months earlier, it's the birth of John the Baptist, the summer solstice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's total connection. I like, and then what you're saying, and say it's embedded right through it. There's a reason why,
right?
They brought up John the Baptist to be 6 months before the other, and that's just so much.
Well, the word Ra is interwoven in the English language. We use Ra in radiation. We use Ra in rays.
Right.
There are words that insinuate Ra everywhere we look, but nobody's looking at it.
Israel, right?
Exactly.
It's just the way it is. I mean, it's just it makes sense. It's just common sense once you realize where the text came from and the religion itself, right? So,
well, and so how you respond to that? I know I have responded in the past by saying, well, anything that is that can be associated with, ancient pagan idolatry, is maybe God actually revealed tidbits of truth, or maybe they did see some bits of truth in the sky. And what the truth is what we read about in the Bible. But now I've changed my mind to where I see so many lies and contradictions in the Bible that I'm
Right.
much more susceptible now to say that the entire Christian religion and even a lot of the Hebrew religion is woven or originated from the pagan idolatry.
Well, they adopted a lot of the ideas and concepts, and of course they would adopt these concepts and ideas. It's all around you. You would do the same thing. They did the same thing. They're doing what
Right.
is logical. It
And,
doesn't,
and
and you
so
know,
whether or not
it doesn't. Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, so whether or not it's true or not, there's no way for us to prove. Whether Christianity, because you could say, can you prove Jesus even lived? I don't think you can. Now there are people that made reference to
Intellectually, you can't. No, intellectually, definitely can't.
right.
Yeah.
If you had to go to a court of law and you had to bring actual evidence to prove that that this person lived, so all you could bring is what other people said, and then if two people said two different things, then all of a sudden you've got to throw the evidence out because one person said one thing and another said another. So
Yeah.
and it's both of them are hearsay. So you would have to bring so much consistent evidence of hearsay evidence that it would be overwhelming to prove that this has to be true. And so all the early church fathers that were making claims about Jesus and the Gospel of John or Matthew or whatever, if someone wrote something in 50 AD and someone who lives in 150 AD is making reference to what someone said in 50 AD 100 years earlier, that doesn't mean that whatever the guy said in 50 AD was telling the truth, but the guy who lived 100 years later is just saying, hey, this guy said 100 years ago that this is what happened, and I believe it.
Right.
Well,
It's parroting and
you can't-
passing on the message for to sustain the religion. But here's the other thing too. At this point, I don't believe that most of the characters or names are actually even real human beings. I think that's it doesn't even matter because it's the messages, it's the points. You know what I mean? What is this story really about? What's the deeper esoteric meanings of it?
The
Really,
archetypes.
archetypes is
Archetypal
the big
thinking.
thing. These are allegorical. These are idioms. These are not supposed to. So
Well-
it's human nature for us to focus on the character, like Paul or John or Jesus, even for say. Although I do believe in Jesus, but I believe in Jesus for different reasons. I base my belief in Jesus on reading the scriptures and studying in Christianity and religion itself. I wouldn't believe in him at all. So I wouldn't. And I make with no sense if that's your approach of this, why to believe in them, right? But I do believe in them for other more spiritual, personal reasons, right? And I don't want to push on anybody else. But saying that, I mean, if you're really honest about it, being intellectually honest about the scriptures and the characters and all that, I guess it comes down to as you mature in your studying of you, where you're going to put your emphasis or your weight of understanding. Is it about the historical fact of these things, or is there something more important going on, right?
Right. Well, and the Revelation 12 woman, Revelation 12:1. We don't understand the very language we speak. That's what is keeping people confused. It's extremely interesting that Revelation 12 verse 1 and 2 talks about the constellation Virgo, and it makes an application that is Israel. So when you look up in the sky and you see in September, what you can't see Virgo in September because the sun is in September, which means the constellation will not be visible because it's masked by the sun. So in another month when you look up and when the sun is not in Virgo, you can see the constellation. But the Bible even specifically points out the constellation of Virgo and says that is Mary.
Yeah.
And in September 27th, 2017, there was a big ordeal about the constellation Virgo having 12 stars at her head, because the primary stars of Leo, Leo is at Virgo's head. In the sky, when you look up, Leo is above Virgo. Always. It never changes. Oh. But Leo only has 9 primary stars. So in order to meet up with the Revelation 12 woman, you have to have 3 planets that are in Leo that will be 9 plus 3 is 12, because it says that Virgo would have a crown of 12 stars at her head. So that actually happened in 2017, right at the Jewish feast day of Rosh Hashanah, which is the Feast of Trumpets, which is when Jesus is, the trumpets would be the announcing of the king's arrival. So there was a bunch of people saying that Jesus was going to return in September 2017, because it was on the Feast of Trumpets, and it matched up with the constellations matched up with the Revelation 12 woman. So there is, in the Bible, there is a lot of reference to constellations and stars. And I saw something recently, even this idea that people say the 3 kings traveled to where Jesus was born, and they looked at the star of Bethlehem to find where Jesus was born. I saw something that when the morning star, or which is usually talking about Venus, because Venus is the brightest star in the sky.
Right.
So whenever it was lined up with the 3 stars that make up Orion's belt in the constellation, that's how they could figure out where to go, because the morning star moves, and if it lines up, whenever it lines up with 3 stars that make a perfect line in Orion's belt, then that would point to a certain direction, or something like that.
Possible. I don't believe that one, but I do. Yeah, whenever. Where was I going to go with this? Oh, and back to the whole thing about Revelation 12 and 1. I wouldn't be surprised if that same, what do they call that when they're all lined up? Conjunctions? Is that what they call it? Or alignments?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised that happened at the same time when the destruction of Jerusalem, around that same period, right? I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying it is, but I wouldn't be surprised, and that's probably why they shoved it in there, right?
Yeah,
because if you're thinking about a whole culture, societies, and all around it, of course, the whole world was that too. The stars were that was their late night entertainment. That was their television. That was their internet.
Right. So let me clarify what I think you just said, which I haven't really thought of, but makes perfect sense. That whenever John or whoever wrote the book of Revelation, he very well might have put that in there in Revelation 12:1 for the sole purpose of telling his believers when to expect these events to happen. He says, whenever you see the 3 planets in Leo, and you see the sun at her head and the moon at her feet, and you see that she's about to give birth to the child, and that's something that happened in 2017. Jupiter spent 9 months in the womb because it went retrograde or something. So normally it goes in the same direction, but based on rotations and this and that, it can actually go in one direction, and then it turns around and goes backwards for a little bit. Then it turns around again and it keeps going in the same direction it was going in. And Jupiter was inside the womb of the constellation Virgo for 9 months, and it came out from between her legs precisely on the Feast of Trumpets in September 23rd, 2017. And I'm like, holy cow, dude, this means something. And it's very possible that that's what the stars were going to look like in or around 70 AD. And that was a clue that he was given.
And I guarantee they would know that. I mean, they would know that because that's like their entertainment. That's their form of communication. That's how they used to travel. We're so disconnected from the stars and the planets right now that we don't have any concept of what it was like for them back then. If we take ourselves out of it, like you say,
right,
audience relevancy, and think about who is actually being spoken to and what it's about, then it makes very clear. It makes all the sense in the world that astrotheology and astronomy and even astrology would be part of it, because that's their culture. And the thing is, they try to. Just shut up. You go ahead. I can just go on a rant. I go on a rant.
So let's get out of the Myers, which I think what we're talking about is interesting. But hit the back button so you can go back to see my whole chart again.
Okay.
And so we've looked at my sun Leo, my ascendant Pisces, and my moon Aries. Now look at this. Before you click on that, you see Mercury, Venus, and Mars are all Virgo. And it's in the 6th house. So some people would look at this and say, "Oh my goodness, 666, you're the devil." Like that's ridiculous. But what is interesting is that my next 3 signs are all Virgo, and we have already talked about how you said that I'm a left-brained individual. I'm an intellectual thinker and speaker. That's where this comes from. What we've read so far is my passions and my emotions and my fire and my energy. What we're about to talk about is my intellectual aspects, the way I think, the way I process information, and the way I communicate. And I find that interesting because Virgo is, so my passions and my energy and my personality is fire and emotions and passion. But my thought process is intellectual, and it's an air sign, which is the Virgo. So now click on Mercury Virgo. We'll talk about this. I got to add. So, okay, Mercury Virgo. Mercury rules expression and communication. It tells us how we process information, how we think, and how we learn. It governs the way you prefer to communicate and whether you prefer small or big groups of people. If Virgo is your Mercury sign, that means Mercury was traveling through Virgo when you were born. Virgo Mercury natives can be a little high-strung when they feel out of control, but they are quite skilled at taking care of practical tasks. They like it when others give them praise for their intelligence. So when you said I was smart, I like that. Which that also feeds into Leo egos too. But they are excellent at organizing, planning, and taking care of business. They are most content when they know exactly what is happening and are typically very willing to lend a hand to others. So you can see that just as a quick summary. You can see we've switched over into how I think and learn and process and communicate, and it shifted from a fiery, passionate style to a more intellectual processing. So to speed up things, let's go back and then click on Virgo Venus. You're in Mercury Virgo, so now click back and go to Venus in Virgo.
Hold on a second, Jeff.
Oh, you had to pee again, huh?
Yeah, I said, no, I said, I'm right back. I'm getting it. I figured you're going to be talking a little bit longer on that, but okay. Let's go back.
Yeah, so we could dig into it, but I want to keep the ball rolling so we can process some of these things at a higher level. Yeah, Venus Virgo.
This is so interesting, though. I can see this like text. I don't know, man. This would be something right here to think about. Just looking at scripturally and connections with Christ himself. But anyway,
yeah. Well,
Christianity.
So I've done this same thing by looking at the Disney princesses.
There's a reason you have so much passion for this topic as well. I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there.
Well, so
go ahead.
So you can look at characters in movies and find out. You can when you become more familiar with these different personality traits and different signs, the different elements, the fire and earth and all that. You can look at Disney princesses and say, oh, they built her based off of Pisces. For example, Ariel in The Little Mermaid. She was a very dreamy person, right? She was very emotionally sensitive. She dreamed about going out on the land and being in a whole new world. And it's convenient that she is a fish because that is the Pisces sign. The Pisces is a dreamer. And so they made The Little Mermaid based on the Pisces personality traits that we're looking at now. You can look at and
that's what Disney does.
Right. So look at the Lion King. The Lion King is about Leo. Obviously, they chose the same sign to represent the personality. And then you have this this whole story about a lion usurping the authority of another, and then the other growing up into his personality. Hang on a second. I'm busy right now. Maybe later. And so, the Lion King in Disney is about the Leo personality. Mary Poppins, I think, is about the Leo personality too, because Mary Poppins was so dominant. She was such a leader. And when she measured herself with her magic measuring tape, it says Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every way. Leos have a tendency to be a little arrogant. They think that they're the best there ever was. And that kind of reflects Mary Poppins. So you could look at Mulan or and all these are the same. When you understand these traits, you can see how Disney created these characters. So we're reading about, if you want to write a story, if you're a creative writer, you need to study these personalities, because you can build a character based on these personality traits, and that's exactly what Disney does.
And that's exactly what they did in the
they
Bible.
use personality traits, and they also use magic incorporated with it.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: what you just said, Jeff, is just shocking. It's really revealing to me, because that's probably what they did. I should say, they probably most likely. I put my money on it. That's how they built these characters too. That we know today in the Bible.
I think so too. I think so. I think there's much more mythology and in the Bible than reality, really.
With the proper term, maybe be astral mythology or something.
Well, yeah, it's based right. It's based on astrology, right? But this is the most well-studied science in the history of mankind. They know more about this than they know about photosynthesis or whatever.
This is going to offend a lot of people here, Jeff.
Yeah, but I don't
we don't mean to, but it's just being honest. That's all.
Right. So let's read just a little bit about Venus and Virgo. So Venus rules love and relationships. Your Venus sign. So this is why I'm not a romantic person. Now, I've told you that when we read the Leo part, and it says Leo's a romantic, but my Venus sign is the love planet, and I'm a Virgo. That means I'm not a Leo Venus. I'm a Virgo Venus, and this is why I'm not romantic. The Venus sign determines how you give and feel love in both romance and friendships. It also influences what you find beautiful. If Virgo is your Venus sign, that means Venus was traveling through Virgo when you were born. Virgo Venus natives are not very flirtatious. What? That's what I just... So if you just read Leo and it says you're a romantic person, you got to get to where it's talking more specifically about your love language, which is in the Venus. So Venus says that I'm an intellectual lover. I'm not a romantic lover. So when it was saying stuff about love back in the Leo channel, or back in the Sun channel, that was a generic description, where this is a specific description. So if I think that buying a bunch of flowers for your girlfriend is trying to trick her into loving you, because I'm an intellectual thinker. I'm not thinking with emotions. I'm thinking with intellect. And that's why I'm not very flirtatious, and I'm not very romantic. I'm an intellectual kind of guy. So if you don't like it, then but this explains why I am the way I am. Though they don't like to shower their lovers with showy presents, they give an abundance of devotion. This sign is willing to dedicate themselves on working on relationships. And listen, I've made that abundantly clear too. I told you the reason I've even studied this stuff. I've used my intellect to try to fix my relationships, because I went and studied this personality stuff to try to help my relationship in my marriage. So that is demonstrating a Virgo Venus using intellect to solve love problems. And that's who I am. And this describes it perfectly. And I've already described that to y'all. And now it's abundantly clear how Virgo Venus is not a romance person, but an intellectual, a person who uses his intellect to try to solve problems in love. So let's hit the back button and go to Virgo and Mars.
I believe this is where the quarrel comes in.
the quarrel, the fights.
Yes, sir.
Yep. So Mars is the war planet. So so the way I'm going
How's
to
it going,
fight
Diesel?
battles, the way that I'm going to fight battles is with my intellect. I'm not going to fight with emotion. I'm going to fight with intellect. So because that's what Virgo means. Virgo's an air sign, and Mars is the war planet. So Mars sign represents your deep primal energy. It's really Mars is the Greek Mars is the Roman war god. It is the assertive driving force behind your actions. It determines your instincts, aggression, and sexuality. Virgo Mars is driven to achieve their goals. They are practical, sometimes scattered. This is because they do a lot of things at once. Nevertheless, they usually get everything done. They may take on too much at a time. They are disciplined and logical. There you go. There's the logic. There's the intellect. That's what drives Virgos is intellect. So Mars is Virgo natives. It's not saying that you're smart, because you could be dumb and still be a Virgo, but the way you would process information would be through your intellect and reason, and not through emotions. So it's not saying you're smart. It's just saying that's the way you process information. Mars and Virgo natives can be stubborn and critical, but they are not aggressive. Don't push them too far, as they can be easily annoyed or nervous. They like things to go their way. This sign is quite organized because they use their intellect to think about problem solving and will work hard. They may be restless and have trouble sticking to one project at a time. Well, look at this. Scroll down just a little bit in between the ads on my page. This sign may be successful in the medical field, as they enjoy helping others. They want to feel needed and useful. They aren't very emotional and may be intolerant. So Virgo signs are just not real. If it was Pisces, it would be very emotional, but Virgo is very intellectual. And so you can, so I hit back so I can see all this chart again. And I think I would be willing to stop here and try to pull up another chart to describe Eric. Is it Eric? So we
Yes,
can
it
see the
is.
difference, because I've painted a picture by just briefly looking at Sun, Ascendant, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Now, Jupiter and Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, those are generational signs. Not so. So those planets move a lot slower. So all children that are born in the 90s will share the same Uranus or Neptune or something like that, because those are generational signs. Whereas Mercury, Mars, or Mercury, Venus, Mars, they are smaller planets closer to the sun that travel at a faster rate. And so they go through the constellations at a quicker pace. And so that makes us more individualized based on those signs. If we read, so Mike, you and I are about the same age, right? So
55.
oh well, so no, I'm 40. So we're probably going to share some
Yeah,
of these.
I'm
Some of
almost
these
your
later
dad.
signs. No, you're not. But
Yeah,
you know,
I
if
am.
people who are, how old are you, Eric?
48.
All right, so me and you might be, if we're going to pull up your chart. So if we could just
Yeah,
remember,
let's do Eric's chart while we're doing that. So,
right.
but
So
the problem
the point,
we got some limitations, but go ahead.
right? So the point that I'm making is Mercury, Venus, and Mars are going to be very different for everybody, whereas Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto are going to be very similar for people that are born within the same generation, because they don't change that frequently. So,
Okay.
all right, so let's see if we can pull up Eric's chart and compare some differences.
Okay, birthday again, Eric. Eric?
October 5th, 1974.
Well, this ought to solidify me remembering your birthday.
I'm
I
sure
always
you'll
forget my
forget it.
friends. I forget everybody's. I forget my own. Jeez, I'm at that age. It doesn't matter.
So you're a Libra then, right?
Yes.
All right. So my wife is a Libra, so this is
Do you
going to
have
be
any,
interesting.
any idea, Eric, at the time of your birth? As far
Now
as
here's the thing. I was adopted, but my intuition says it was at night. So that's all I can go with.
Come on, dude. I don't know if that's reliable. That don't sound reliable to me. See, that's me using my Virgo. I'm an intellectual thinker, and you're not going to be an intellectual thinker, or you would not be able to say what you just said. So you're basing that off of some kind of emotional. That sounds like a Pisces attempt to me. It's like I just feel like I've got a connection with the
Well,
nighttime.
let's just say I have a lot of intuitions you don't know about, my friend.
Well, so that's fine. That's fine. But
So
for the sake of
we just say time unknown then.
yeah,
Okay?
click time unknown because the only thing that's going to change is the rising sign. That's the only thing it changes.
So location, Toledo, Ohio, right?
No, Lima, Ohio.
Oh, where you're born? Okay, Lima.
Yes.
That's Allen County. I'm looking it up too.
Yep. It is.
All right, I found it. So I put time unknown. So we won't be able. The ascendant sign. Oh yeah, the ascendant sign is not available because we clicked time unknown. But we will be able to look at your sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars like we did mine. We just won't be able to look at your rising sign.
So I should put Lima or just Allen County, Ohio.
I think Lima would work.
Yeah, I found it. Just do LIMA, comma, space, OHIO, and it's right there in the list. You can click it.
How come it didn't show up for me?
There it is, right there, top option.
Okay.
Submit.
Now I can submit. Time unknown.
All right, so let's just look at his chart for just a second. Scroll up so we can see it.
Well, what about this?
All that
Is
red-
your
That red stuff.
Is that
Right.
Okay.
The reason it says that in red is because we didn't put his time of birth, so we cannot read his ascendant or rising sign. But all this stuff is the
Do
same.
not read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's look at this for just a second. So the more familiar you are with this, people can just look at this and you don't have to read all that other stuff because you can see that Libra is an air sign, so that's going to be leaning toward the intellectual part. Gemini is an earth sign. Scorpio is a water sign, and then he's got two more Libras in the quick moving planets. So he's going to portray the Libra sign a lot. But let's just click on the Sun Libra and read about the Sun Libra.
Libra, the scales.
All right, so I'm looking at yours right now. So the sign is scales, and the reason Libra sign is a scales is because Libras, the way you can summarize them is the balance. If they feel like everything is fair and balanced, then they are at peace with themselves and the world around them. But if things get out of balance, if they feel like someone has cheated them or been unfair and their balance gets out of whack, then they go ballistic. That's what my wife does. And this is where I learned about her when I started studying this stuff. So do you want to read this, or do you want me to keep dominating the conversation?
You can read it. I'll either agree or disagree, but I believe that this is accurate.
All right, so I'll just read off of yours. I've got mine pulled up too, but I'll read off yours.
It's really small on where I can see, so I can barely see it.
Right. So Libra is the seventh sign of the zodiac, and it is at this point in the procession that a shift occurs. The first 6 signs of the zodiac are based on individual, whereas the last 6 signs focus on individuals' contact with the world and others. Therefore, Libras are focused on other people, how they relate to them. That's why I was talking about the balance, being fair and balanced. If the world is around them is balanced, they're at peace. They do not want to be alone. Everything is better to them as a pair. The Libra symbol is the scales, which means people born under this sign like things to be balanced. Libras see things objectively. They want what's best for everyone. Because of this, Libras tend to hate conflict. They try to do everything in their power to maintain peace and harmony, which may make them very indecisive. If it allows them to avoid confrontation, Libras will do it or not do it, depending on the situation. so you can see a big difference already between my sun sign Leo, which is a leadership sign and not afraid to step out and be the center of attention. And, because whenever you're willing to step out in front of other people, you're usually going to upset some people for one reason or another. But the reason that a Libra does not like to step out in front of other people is because they want to maintain peace and they want everybody to be happy. And they're kind of afraid that if they step out and make a decision, then it's going to upset somebody, which would in turn upset them, and they don't want to be upset. So Libra has
Don't upset me.
Yeah. Well, so Libra has a cardinal quality, meaning they are good at strategizing, organizing groups, and getting projects done. This also makes them companionable and sociable people. Libra is ruled by Venus, whereas I was ruled by the sun. He's ruled by Venus, which is the love planet. And like in the Roman mythology, Libras try to please other people. That's why Venus makes sense for the Libra, because it's all about relationships and making other people happy. They like to indulge in artistic, beautiful things. As an air sign, this sign tries to reach higher, as in the higher mind. It's still an intellectual sign like the Virgo is. But this is more geared towards making other people happy or keeping peace in relationships. So Libras like to put their mind to work and communicate intriguing ideas to others. People born under this sign are, I can't read because of that, and they love beautiful people. They don't like ugly people, I guess, which is why they enjoy something like theater, cocktails, parties, and ballet. So
I don't know about that ballet part, but
yeah, yeah. I don't know who could like ballet, but
I did. One of my ex-fiance was a ballet instructor, though. So
yeah, I had a girlfriend in high school. She was a ballerina. She's smart as hell too.
I've had a lot of exes that could be a lot of things.
So this next sentence, I think this next sentence summarizes Libra, especially as the sun sign, saying Libras are just generally pleasant people to be around. They know how to make others comfortable and are great at charming conversation. They also love to get to know other people as they love to be around others. In terms of conflict, they make a fair argument, as they are all about diplomacy and compromise. So Virgos in general, their primary attribute is keeping peace, and they actually use their intellect to try to come to that peace. So they use their mind to try to solve problems, and their problems are all geared toward keeping the peace between the people. And so that's why their sign is the balance. And when you look at the constellation in the sky, it looks like this picture of a balance that this image or icon is showing. So hit back and we'll read about Mercury.
Well, it sounds pretty much like Eric, and when he's in sober state of mind.
So now the moon is all about emotions. So his emotions are Gemini, and so Gemini is the twins, and it's almost like the Jekyll and Hyde, because you've got two different personalities. So when it comes to emotions, this is probably what it's going to say. It's going to say that on the one hand, he handles his emotions one way, but on another hand, he can handle his emotions in a drastically different way, because that's really what the Gemini is all about. So this first paragraph is the same for every single one of them. It's just telling what the moon does. It's what I read earlier about myself. It says the moon rules the moods and the emotions. That's exactly the same as what we read before. But when it says overall, this is where it's going to talk specifically about Gemini moons. Gemini moons have changing, adaptable emotions. They are known to hop from idea to idea, constantly sharing and information with others. Most importantly, though, I have to zoom out on my phone. I had it zoomed in too far. Constantly sharing and exchanging information with others. Most importantly, though, the sign gain emotional fulfillment when they feel intellectually stimulated. In order to stay excited, Gemini moons tend to socialize with others, search for interesting information, and communicate their ideas. People with this placement in their charts tend to be good conversationalists, as Gemini is ruled by Mercury. So
That's a pretty
I
wild
would agree.
conversation. Yeah, I would say we have some pretty intense conversations. That's the reason probably why he hangs up on me.
as a
Just give me a hard
flighty
time, man.
air
It's
sign,
just when I
True,
hear
we have some
nonsense,
pretty
Mike.
not at times passionate, but we do have talk about some pretty deep stuff that most people wouldn't even consider talking about. So
We're afraid to talk about.
yeah.
so it's an air sign. Gemini being another air sign. So his sun sign is air, and his moon sign is also air, which means he's not dabbling in emotions, but dabbling in intellect only. Gemini moons may prefer to talk about their feelings rather than actually experience them. They like to keep things on the positive side, staying versatile and adventurous in the emotional plane. With the twins being the symbol of Gemini, Gemini moons are also constantly looking for a partner who complements their own personality. In a relationship, Gemini moons need someone who can intellectually stimulate them and hold an interesting conversation. They crave freedom, communication, and new ideas.
Very, very much so.
This sign is known to be quite interesting to others. What?
I was gonna say, yeah, that's pretty much. He's always getting new books to read. He's always reading about something, thinking about something that, yeah, it's definitely him.
So, compiling these air signs on each other is just indicating that he stays within the intellect. That's the way he processes information. That's the way he makes decisions. As a Libra, he's trying to make other people happy, and as a Gemini, he's trying to, especially as a Gemini Mercury, he's trying to communicate with others and from an intellectual perspective. See, but there's a lot of people who are not intellectual thinkers, and that's not saying they're not smart. It's just saying that's not the way they process information. So if you're trying to convince somebody else through an intellectual argument of whatever it is you're trying to convince them of, if they're emotional thinkers and not intellectual thinkers, then you're approaching them in the wrong way.
Or you don't even bother at all.
Right. That's what when you realize that you're speaking two different languages and they don't process the information the same as you, then you realize you're just wasting your time.
Exactly.
The positive traits are good for him too. Eric is a writer, and before we forget too, Jeff is an author and soon to be a published author. It is the beginning of his second book, so we'll have to talk about that and more at the end. But as far as this is definitely Eric. You want to read it?
Well, so Gemini moons, I'm in the middle line. Gemini moons are also social butterflies, drawing in others with their optimistic, open-minded mannerisms. Some Gemini moons may even have a talent for numbers, speech, writing, as language is a strong suit of theirs. Let's see what the challenges are. Because I talked about some vulnerabilities that I had. So let's see what his screw-ups are. So because Gemini moons are so versatile.
Damn.
Hey.
Sorry about that. That was my fault, man.
I want to see my screw-ups, Mike.
Yeah, do I have to keep looking, man?
They're so versatile.
Get with it, Mike.
It may be hard for this sign to make decisions. They can be a bit scatterbrained. Here we go. There's some insults. As they tend to process a lot of information constantly. This moon sign may also be a bit moody at times, as their adaptability manifests into easy, changeable moods. They may come off.
Repeat that? I wasn't paying attention.
I'm just
kidding. I'm just kidding.
You were scatterbrained at the moment.
Okay, that's what that said. Okay, all right.
They may come off as detached, as you just demonstrated as a joke, for they prefer to analyze their emotions rather than to feel them. So overall, this sign can be quite restless and distracted, and their love of information may make them prone to gossip. A gossiper. All right. let's see what's next. Venus. Let's talk about the love language. So
That's interesting.
we were in Mercury.
I don't know about this. He's not really prone to gossip. I don't know how. Of
Oh, you just
course, there's no perfect, and plus we don't have the actual time of birth. That kind of thing.
well, that's not going to
Well,
change this stuff though.
I can say that I do bring up people in my life. So technically, if it's true or not, it's still talking about other people, correct? Gossip.
Yeah. And even if you
Yes,
think it's true, that's usually what gossip is. It's like you
Right.
think it's true. It might not be true. Maybe you don't have all the information, but you're just telling what you think is true and interesting. And if
Yeah,
you think it's
true.
going to make somebody, especially if you think that somebody else is going to enjoy it, that you're going to have a good time talking about this person,
Well,
then you can
I
say,
think a lot of times that's the problem. I talk about things and people don't enjoy it.
all right, so this one's going to be interesting because Scorpio is definitely an interesting sign. I don't really like Scorpio sign. My brother's a Scorpio, and I fight with him all the time about everything because our personalities are so different. But let's see what this Mercury and
at
Scorpio.
least you're still talking to your siblings. For the most part, there's a lot of us that. Although I get along with my big brother, but anyways, go ahead.
Well, so every time that I'm able to have a conversation with my brother, I'm surprised that we're still friends after it's all over because we're so different.
Yeah.
So Mercury is about expression and communication, and your method of expression and communication is going to be based in Scorpio. So Scorpio Mercury natives like to get to the heart of topics, and they are quite skilled at it. They are good at seeing through to the truth and are fearless when it comes to going where others fear to go. Basically, like a human surveillance camera, Scorpio Mercury individuals can see through almost anything. They dislike superficiality. People may see them as suspicious and negative. See, that's the way I see my brother, suspicious and negative. So that's why I'm optimistic and positive and open, and he's secretive and negative. So we're just opposites. So Mercury and Scorpio individuals are passionate, which shows through the way they communicate. They strive to help others and may even share some of their own thoughts as long as they are about other people and not themselves, because Scorpios are kind of secretive. It's kind of a stealthy sign. It's a scorpion, and scorpions are practically invisible until they sting you, and then you know that they're there. That's the way a Scorpio operates. They're you don't even know they're there until they bite you or pinch you or sting you, and then all of a sudden it's the only thing you can comprehend is their existence. They have excellent observation skills and will typically see things that others miss. Scorpio Mercury focuses on strategy. They are intelligent and work by natural instincts. There's your little bit of your natural instincts you were talking about.
Oh yeah, I see it instantly.
Their criticism may come off as negative at times, even if they think they are being constructive. It's very difficult to win an argument against a Scorpio Mercury. They have a hunger to win. That's just describing my brother. We play fantasy football together, and if he's not winning, he's wanting to quit because he's all about winning. These people,
a lot of times I'm perceived as negative, but to hell with them. They aren't worth anything.
yeah. So everything we've read about him so far is all based on intellect. So while we're reading about him and his personality, he's sitting there thinking, he's processing information with his mind and intellect about how to crack jokes about it or to make references to it. So that's just the way he operates. He's an intellectual thinker. And I am too, but so I've got a lot of intellectual processing information, but I've also got a lot of fire and passion and energy in the way that I carry it out.
You do, sure.
So these people are extremely loyal and will defend the people they care about to the end. They are also great motivators. They are skilled at keeping secrets, especially their own. So you can be around a Scorpio all your life and never know who you're really dealing with because they can hide it so well.
Yes, sir.
So let's read. I'm reading this next to last paragraph on the screen. Mercury and Scorpio natives have an uncanny understanding of human nature. What seems obvious to them may be confusing to others. They give off an intensity that others can't help but notice. It is common for people to either love or hate a Scorpio Mercury. All right. Wait. Let's read this next one because I bet he likes this. This sign may possess psychic talents. What do you think about that, Eric? Are you a psychic?
No comment.
See, he's secretive. That's his Scorpio secret.
Right,
right there.
Being who he
They're
is.
interested in paranormal or mystical topics. Well, he's here. I didn't even know he was going to be here, but he's here.
Let me ask one question, Jeff. Are you musically inclined?
Well, I was in the band, so I would say yes. I was in the band in high school.
That's one thing I kind of sense from you.
How did you sense that?
I just did.
Well, so I, when I was in church, I would lead singing, so I can carry a tune. Well, wait, wait a second. I just uncovered your deceptive skills right there.
That was an impression I got.
I think I sang something on this live when I first got here. Didn't I sing something? I gave a little ditty.
I didn't hear that.
No, I think I did. Mike, didn't I sing a little one-liner once I got on here?
Let's roll the tape, Mike.
I don't remember, to be honest with you.
I don't recall that.
It wasn't that impressive.
I think I did.
Sorry, brother.
I feel like I did, like a little one-liner. Maybe when we're talking about Disney, a whole new world or something.
Well, you're doing that.
I do not recall that.
Well,
I'm honest about that. I don't recall you singing at all.
Well, I think I can feel where you pulled that from, and it could have been just making a reference to a whole new world, or even bringing up Disney, the arts and movies and theater, and because that opens up the door to music as well. The Disney princess movies.
It was just a feeling I had. Nothing
all right. Well.
All
right. So I think
but yeah, okay. I'm going to be whatever. Why can't I think? So yeah, most people in some way or another are musically inclined. It's kind of like one of those
Yeah. So
bets, you know what I mean? It's like, are you musically inclined? Are you a musician?
Well, so I don't play. Right. So I don't really right now. I don't do much with music at all. I mean, I listen to the same radio station and it just plays like 80s and 90s stuff that reminds me back when I was into music. But like, I don't have a current musical inclination. But in the past, I have had more musical elements to my life. So let's see what's next on the chart. Where are we now? We're at the Scorpio Mercury. So let's go to Venus.
Okay.
All right. So his next two are Libra. So he's just all about. He just has no emotional aspect to him at all. He's all intellectual only. Venus, Libra. Don't click Mars. Okay. Click Venus. We're gonna go in order.
Sure. I just see that they're both there, so it's connected.
So Venus is about love and relationships, and Libra Venus people want to impress the people they're interested in. They will use fairness and kindness, because that's the balance sign, to make their relationships work. They have good manners, though this can make others think they are superficial. These people are gentle and may be offended easily. Abrasive personalities and bad manners are unsettling to this sign. A Libra Venus wants to treat others with fairness and will choose the middle ground to make all parties comfortable. It is common for this sign to change parts of their lives to accommodate the needs of others. So that's just generally, when you talk about Libra, that's just the general personality of Libras. And it's just making that Libra application to love and relationships, saying that they are so concerned about the other person that's kind of what motivates them is thinking about the other person.
You can't even imagine the mindless drivel I've had to watch just to, appease them.
Well, what are you talking about? So are you married?
Like movies.
You better not be talking about me, bro. That's all I gotta say.
Are you married, Eric?
No.
All right. Have you been married?
No.
All right. Oh. So let's see. Second paragraph. Libra Venus natives are idealistic.
He had no words for that one.
So let's just get back. Let's get back to business then. So they may mold their relationships into something bigger than life. If this sign feels like they're being taken advantage of, they probably won't confront the person and will instead let it build in a corner, growing more upset over time. Now that is what my wife does, and this is what bothered me so much is that it would be like she's not even mad, and then whenever I would bring up something, all her anger from the last 10 years would all come out at once. And so that's what a Libra does, is they want to make peace so bad that they will avoid confrontation, but then that gets them out of balance. And so whenever the opportunity arises, they've got all that built up anger or whatever it is that they have to release, and it'll all come out at once. And it helps to understand that that's the way Libras operate. They're and it's a positive. The positive side of that is they don't want there to be confrontation. They want everybody to be happy, and that's a good thing to want. But they don't really understand that in order for everybody to be happy, you have to talk about your problems and come up with a solution. Whereas that's not really Libra's strong suit, is coming up with a solution. They just want everybody to be happy because, that's what makes them a little indecisive, because they're afraid that they'll make somebody unhappy if they make a decision. So they would rather not make a decision. They just want everything to fall in place and be in balance. That's what
Very
I learned
true.
about my wife. And I'm, you see, I was afraid that the way I was saying that would come across as offensive, but you said it's very true.
Very true.
So
I let it bottle up and eat me alive.
Yep.
It's true. For our relationships, though, because we have these pretty intense conversations, and so it's about every 3 months, isn't it? You hang up on me, right?
I think it goes with the seasons. I have to, at least once a season, I have to hang up in disgust.
It's funny. I think it's, first time it happened, because I'm used to that with my son's mother, right, and my family members. But when it happens with him, because he's friends, we've been around a while, I'm just like, oh, there he is again. Okay, well, I'm sure we'll be talking in about a week or two. He just just let it slide, man. It's just his way of. That's his way of passively aggressively saying "F you, Mike."
Yeah. Well, let's pull up the Mars. His Mars is also in Libra, so we're getting a clear picture of him, that he's dominated by Libra traits. His sun sign, his Venus, and Mars. And honestly, when we read through Gemini and Scorpio, they were similar. So the way he handles emotions and communication, even though it's Libra, like Scorpio will make a decision, but they're secretive about it. And Gemini is a very mutable sign too, changeable sign. So, the Gemini and Scorpio will allow him to make the decisions, but sometimes with the Scorpio aspect, he can have even Scorpio and Gemini. He might have ulterior motives within himself or secretive motives. But for the Libra part, he's dominated by Libra, so he wants there to be peace between all parties, which contributes to indecisiveness sometimes. So Mars in Libra, let's see.
Indecisiveness is that part? It's interesting. We brought up the whole thing about Eric, you never being married, right? Which has never been an issue, obviously, for us, right, as friends. I could care less if you get married or not. Even it's up to you, right? But it's interesting, and I have been married, right? And I've had one dysfunctional relationship after another, right? But you seem to be this type of guy that this maybe one of his assets is he can read the situation, and although he's paid the price and as well in some crappy relationships, he's like he's very much discerning now, and has higher standards, and that's probably one problem is he meets these women and he's like, gosh, do I just want to spend the rest of my life with them? And no, let's get
Well,
around.
Yeah, usually it takes a good 10 minutes to figure it out.
You're right. And then it's like, what are we going to get out of this situation? So.
and
It's the Edith Bunker.
No, but actually it's very wise because thing is, it's like, like Jeff, you've been married for a long time. You have although you have your problems and your struggles, you end up picking the right person, right? Because she showed up, you got the right person, you end up having healthy children and a reasonable, life together, and imperfect like everyone else's. But like me, I've chosen a couple gals, maybe because I'm kind of superficial, and that chose them because of their looks and their nice butt and their breasts, stuff like that. You know what I mean? I didn't think, and it cost me, in the long run, but but he's like been, a little more wiser about that as far as.
and so I love that analogy. I wish I could show that video of the female lion that couldn't make a decision about which wildebeest to take, and then the male lion just jumps in the middle of a herd and pulls out one, because that's who I view myself as. I am the guy who sees a herd of wildebeest running by, and I just jump in the middle and come out with whatever I come out with and say, I'm a lion, I will make this work. And that's really the way that I view my marriage. I mean, I didn't, I don't view it as the typical way that you would expect to wind up getting, choosing your spouse. I pretty much did it on blind faith, and I said, I can handle it and God is with me. So I'm getting married because I want my pride. I want my, my family. And so I said, I will make it work no matter what. And so, but everybody's got problems in their marriage, and I've got a good marriage now. I mean, it wasn't long ago that I was extremely upset, but right now I'm very happy and content. So that's just you deal with a range of emotions in marriage.
Yeah, Sheldon here, he says, I've never been married. I've been with the same woman for 25 years. It's basically being married, Sheldon. Doesn't matter if the state recognizes or not. If we did get married, we probably wouldn't be together.
Well, and I think that is a good point, because one of the things that I've gone through in my marriage is,
I'll be right back, guys.
I had told my wife from the very beginning, when I get married, I don't get divorced. My parents were divorced. Her parents were divorced. And oh, look, Indy's here. Oh,
yeah, she had to bring up something like the Star of David. That's Indy.
Yeah.
So what about the Star of let's take us off track.
So what was I talking about before Indy screwed me up?
I know she's brilliant at it too.
Yeah, she's the world's greatest at throwing you off.
She's like 10 steps ahead of the rest of us. That's the thing.
What was I talking about? I was talking about if you get married, you'd break up. So I told my wife that I will never divorce no matter what. So I think that actually hurt our relationship, because it trained her that she didn't have to think about how to make me happy in the marriage, because I had already told her, even if you don't ever think about me or care about me, or then I'm still not going to divorce you. So that trained her to not. But what Sheldon was saying is, as long as you're not fully committed, then the other person is going to have to try to care about you and think about your needs. Whereas if you bite the bullet and you get committed and you you get to the point where if you have to break up or divorce, then you have to go to court. And you have to sue each other over how much money each person gets, and all that. So
Vegas.
actually making that commitment does change a relationship, and
that's all that matters, really. And it's just the ritual of signing over a lot of your rights and your children's rights to the state.
Quite
not
honestly,
exactly
I
the
think I
greatest
haven't been
move.
married because I would be bored to death if I got married.
I think you would, man. This is one of his personality traits, which you read about, was that he changes a lot, man. He's never. It's like he's not one that, like you're type of guy, Jeff, where Jeff is like really solid about and focused on the things that he's focused on. Where Eric is like, well, this is the thing I want to learn about. And there's the thing I want to learn about. And they say, what are you doing today? And it's like, I thought last week, last time I talked to you, were writing a book. And last time I saw you were writing music. And last time you were going, where are you going? Because that's what he does. He goes over.
So he's got such strong Libra traits. If he don't find someone that will allow him to stay within his own balance, then he would be far happier to stay balanced in his own life than to have someone else coming in to interrupt his balance.
Amen.
Because a Libra is all about their balance, their personal balance and harmony. And if somebody comes in and disrupts his balance, even in the dating process, he's like, it is not worth it. I don't want to be constantly trying to stay in balance when I would rather just stay in balance instead of have somebody else, knock me off kilter.
Exactly.
We always talk, we took, because, we're basically, bachelors, and we, for me personally, the past decade, I've just said, I'm not going to be in a relationship, right? And for numerous reasons, so I mean, he's in the same thing, so it's like, we always talk about, man, isn't it nice to have your freedom? You know what I mean? I can go and do what I want to focus about this or want to focus about that, and I have to worry about appeasing somebody else and all their other issues and problems, you know what I mean? So that's one of the good things about staying a hermit, celibate. I don't know, what do you call a bachelor, whatever. So
let me ask you.
Trade-off. No, if you're in a good relationship and you're just stable, it sounds like even with your challenges, Jeff, you guys got your crap worked out good enough so that you actually have to have you're allotted the time to be a man in your quote unquote man cave and do your thing. You know what I mean? And that's really important for a man. If you got a woman that's so demanding and just needs you, 24/7, and it's just one issue after another, it drains the soul of a man, And we do live in a culture today where we're treating women like, I'm just going to be honest with you, we're conditioned to treat women like princesses, and they think that that's what they need instead of two partners, her being a woman, the man being the man, and coming together, but also giving each other a lot of space. You got to do it as the relationship matures. You got to give each other a heck of a lot of space, or you'll end up destroying each other, consuming each other. So
but see this, what we're talking about right now, and we've demonstrated it in the 2.5 hours that we've been talking, that this zodiac astrology personality assessment stuff is accurate. The way it describes me and the way it describes Eric is totally different. We've talked about relationships. We've talked about my relationship and my marriage and some struggles and some solutions and the way that I approached marriage and the way that Eric approached marriage and relationships. And it is demonstrated through the charts. We can read it in black and white. And he and I are very different people. And our charts demonstrated that. And if you're dating or thinking about dating somebody, or if you're trying to figure out how to improve your relationship with someone because you are struggling, then all you got to do is pull up their birth chart, read their birth chart, find out what it is that motivates them and what their personality is and what's important to them. And then you can say, okay, I see what's important to you, and what's important to you is not important to me. So maybe we shouldn't be together. Or I do love you and respect you and appreciate you, and now I understand your personality better, and I can kind of cater to your personality in order to maintain that balance that you want.
I
Yeah.
agree.
I think everybody. This also goes back to you were talking about predetermination and our life script and what's been handed to us and what life's going to be about. And when you fight it too much and try to fit into a mold that the world says to be in, it's just it is actually just it's not going to work because of you already have this. God already has what your life script is. So for me, when I just stopped trying, my life I had a lot more peace. When I'm talking about relationships and forcing myself and other people and trying to make it all work, it's like, and just, for me as a person, need a lot of time to myself. I like researching things. I like learning deeper things. I like understanding the world at a deeper level. And I know when it comes to relationships, whether it's, in a group think or in a partnership, there's huge trade-offs, and I'm not prepared to do it anymore. So if you're not going to accept me for who I am, then just move on. It's just okay. It's not a big deal. You know what I mean?
Well,
And,
but see, what you can do with this new understanding is, you could just print out your birth chart, and you could hand it to somebody and say, if you want to have a relationship with me, now this is the way an intellectual thinker would think. Now, an emotional thinker would not like this idea. If somebody wanted you to be romantic and sweep them off their feet and buy them roses and take them to the movies or whatever it is, then this is not going to work. But if it's an intellectual thinker, you could print this chart out and say, this is who I am. I want you to read it, study it, think about it, tell me what you got problems with, and then see if we want to continue this dating relationship. Now, that's not romantic. That's not romantic. Most women are not going to like that idea. But if it's particularly important to you that you be able to communicate with somebody on an intellectual basis, if that's what's important to you to have a good relationship, then that would be a good way to make sure that you were paired up with the right person, is to say, sure, I like to think about things, and I want, this is a good way to demonstrate who I am and how I operate, because I'm not going to go buy a bunch of flowers and do all this other stuff that people who love the romantic side of things.
I'm so bad. Like my last relationship was actually with my son's mother. I mean, I didn't buy her anything, right? It's just like I wasn't going to go play this game anymore. And actually, for it was worth it. But I have to also be honest about myself as a young man when I was halfway decent looking, and I was the type of guy that there was a group of people. I'm focused on the hottest chick in the room, and either I'm going to get her or I'm moving on. Right? That's how I thought. Right? Like, this is who I was. A beast, you know what I mean? An animal. So my thing was never about the intellect, which is ironic because my wife, when I was a young man, I was married for 12 years to a woman that spoke 7 languages. That was half Portuguese, East Timorese, and introduced me to all sorts of these things that I never would have thought of. Because my mindset is, if you're hot, that's what I'm thinking about. You know what I mean? That was it. I didn't care what your belief systems was, how much, understanding or, what your whatever, I'm trying to think of what is the IQ score or whatever, and that causes a lot of problems. So I think it's part of life too, is like learning. I know I'm kind of deviating from the topic, but really it is learning to know yourself and so that's who I am. If I were to get back in a relationship, that's exactly what I'm going to do again, right? Because as a woman, that's what I'm attracted to, is the sex part of it, right? If it's just, but that means, I have women that are friends now, right? It's like a more healthy relationship to have the distance and just, talk about things and intellectual and things that we have in common and just keep all the rest of it away. You know what I mean?
See, Mike,
it's different. It's a different person, who you are.
I tend to try to entertain the women, and once my entertainment ends and I run out of material, that's the end of the relationship.
Well, you take too much responsibility on that too. But also, listen. I think it's a two-side. Well, you get bored real fast, man, with other people, right? You do,
Well, I probably wouldn't call it boredom.
I'm surprised that he's still here. By honest with you,
it's about balance, not boredom, because boredom is another trait for like Aries. It's about balance. As long as he feels balanced and at peace within himself and with his community, then he's happy. You knock something out of balance and he's gone. So I guess I'm kind of, since I have kind of dominated the conversation uh, at some points,
It's
I've been
supposed to be,
conscious and aware of that, huh?
yeah. Yes,
So
the
so I,
point was for you to do that.
so
So
so I'm conscious and aware that I don't want to be too dominant, and I want to give other people respect, and let them be heard, and to be able to speak their mind. But I think Eric, since I'm saying things that he agrees with and maintains his peace, he's not feeling like he's being dominated or overwhelmed in any way, because I'm speaking his peace.
Yeah, I would disagree when it is time to disagree. And that's how I do things. I tend not to interject until I have to. You know.
you're observant, man. You learn. You're an observer. He's actually a very creative writer too. And if he ever just get his act together and write the damn book, he's going to be pretty damn funny and very intriguing.
Well,
I'm
what?
working
You
on a
just
new
the
chapter called
observations
The
are
Crown of Cleveland.
off the wall, and they're not what ours. Using the average person does not have um, Eric's observations. And Hunter S. Was it Thompson, whatever his name is, he would be very proud of Eric if he got a book done.
Hey, hey,
Hunter
Mike.
H. Thompson. Yeah.
Let's click on his Jupiter Pisces, because everything we've read about him has been intellectual, but his Jupiter is in Pisces, and Cancer is also an emotional sign too. So we might need to pull some of his emotional aspects out.
Okay.
So Jupiter is associated with fortune and good luck. It rules higher learning and how we absorb new ideas. If you learn how to work with your Jupiter sign, you will easily find happiness and fortune. So his this Pisces, we're going to see a little bit about his emotional aspects. So Pisces Jupiter meets good fortune when they are compassionate, tender, giving, and devoted. They enjoy caring for people less fortunate than themselves, helping others fulfill them. Jupiter is in Pisces. Natives are empathetic. They can feel people's pain. They strive to do everything they can to relieve this pain and improve conditions. They are creative and imaginative. They may use the arts to express themselves. This sign can be quite talented with healing arts, and they are drawn to the occult and fantasy. Pisces Jupiter natives are just fine to remain behind the scenes when helping others. They don't necessarily seek the spotlight. This sign is sensitive but easygoing. Uh, I mean, this is making sense. It's fitting in perfectly with the Libra aspects, and
Because like I said, the next thing, this son is quite talented with healing arts, and they are drawn to what? The occult.
occult and fantasy.
Oh my gosh, that's him right there. It's true, isn't it, Eric?
No comment.
So you can. There's all these personality assessments and tests that you can take online, and even pay people. This INTJ stuff that people take. I did that recently because I guess somebody said something about it, and I wanted to see where I was, and I had to answer like 50 questions, and I had to rate whether I was strongly agreed or I strongly disagreed, or was it a 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 for like 50 questions. And I'm thinking, good grief, dude, is it a 3 or is it a 4? I don't know. Do I strongly agree or do I strongly disagree? It was really ambiguous in a lot of ways. But you see, in this aspect, and that you come to the same conclusion. When you do that and you answer those 50 questions in an ambiguous way, you come to the exact same conclusion if you simply put in your birth date and the time of day you were born. 2 questions or 3, when you put in your location, your date, and your time, and you get the exact same answer, and it is written in the stars. So what in the world? Why do we have to answer 50-something questions in an ambiguous way when all you got to do is put in 3 indisputable data points, and you get an elaborate explanation of your personality to an amazing degree of accuracy.
That's a good point.
And so to me, that this is not random. It's not mysticism. It's not hocus pocus. It's true. It's facts. It's built into the system, and it's not anti-God. It is proof that God exists. It's proof that God is the creator, that he built, that he forms every single human being in conjunction with the universe that we live in. So he creates us. It's not if it was random, you couldn't be able to define people's personalities based on their star charts. It has to be designed into the system. So it's proof that God exists and that he created us, that we're not just random balls floating through space.
I would agree.
But yet Christians want to say, if you mess with and dabble into this stuff, it's the occult and it's mysticism and it's an abomination to God, because you should never look at the stars and try to draw any conclusions from the stars. Yet they did it all throughout the Bible. When Jesus was born, it was in the Bible. It was declared in the stars. I mean, I don't know how these kings or whatever were trying to track down when the Messiah was born simply because they were looking at the stars, but that's what the Bible says. Oh. So,
well, I mean, it's even in Job. It says everything was written in the Maslow. So.
Yeah. It's all throughout. Oh, the heavens declare your handiwork. What that means is you can see God when you look at the stars. When you look at a tree, you can see God, and that's what Romans 1:20 says. It says, God's invisible attributes are clearly seen, being made known by the things that are made. So when you look at a car, you know that it was designed and built by men, because cars do not build themselves. They don't. Metal and electrical wires don't fall out of the sky in the perfect sequence to create a car. It had to be created and designed by an intelligent designer. And when you look at the world and the magnificence at the creation of the world that we're in, the ability to hear and see and smell and taste and touch and think and talk, well, all that is more impressive than the existence of a vehicle. So everything from the stars to the trees to our eyeballs indicate that there is an intelligent designer that created this whole thing that we're in.
I agree with you.
Design to point to. Definitely a design.
Yeah, and definitely trees are just amazing creation, and then the things that go on with trees, around trees, in trees is just shocking the more you research it. So, but most people don't do that. So, but yeah, it just definitely it's just observing the creation tells you that there's an intelligent designer. So there's no way to get it. I mean, I can understand if you don't. If you just don't want, if your bias is so strong you don't want to believe, you're not going to believe it. But it's
right,
But I don't know. Sometimes I wonder why that is, because I think a lot of it has to do with organized religion, what we talk about, in which it's condemnation and guilt and shame and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't feel that way. You don't feel that way. I don't even feel that.
Well, and I've said stuff to people recently that we would be better off if we did not have the Bible. And they say, well, your whole concept of who God is comes from the Bible. And I would agree with that. Maybe not my whole concept, but a majority of my concept of who God is came from religion and Bible study. But now the point that I am right now is when I see and demonstrate contradictions in the Bible, and I no longer think that it's the infallible word of God that God wrote and inspired and preserved for all humanity or whatever. I can feel more comfortable saying that there are lies and things that are not true in the Bible, but yet when I look out into the world and I see uh, the evidence that God exists, and that we look at these birth charts and see that God creates each individual human specifically in unison with the universe that we live in. Uh, and I can say if we would focus more on our personal relationship with God and our experiences with God and His creation, we would probably have a better idea of who God is than if we just read the book, the Bible, and think that that is the perfect reflection of who God is.
Right, it's so far from it. From my own personal experience over the years in studying and reading the Bible over and over again, and Christianity and studying religion and just having my own interactions and all that, I am further from God. When I study the Bible, it draws me further from God. It really does. And I will say to anybody's face that I never found God in the Bible. I never found God in religion. I found God in His creation. I found God in interacting with His creation, right? And in a more mystical level, or more spiritual level, that I understand. A lot of people today don't understand, but it's part of our culture and what we're exposed to with this modern Roman Greco, kind of scientific, analytical left brain thing going on. But listen, before 100 years ago, for the vast majority of humanity, it was the way that they knew God was not from a book. And I'm
Right.
saying that when I say 100 years ago, I'm not kidding. It was 100 years ago. I mean, just think about colonization, and especially what happened through World War One and World War Two, and I think leading up to that, and the Boer Wars, and on and on. Colonization. It really robbed humanity of a lot of the spiritual, mystical side of things, in which there was a lot of thousands of cultures that never had a written book ever for thousands of years.
Right.
I'm not saying there weren't cultures that didn't have the written book, but I think part of it is because of our indoctrination and the social pressures that we've lost that. For many of us, we've lost the ability to find God within a tree, within nature, within just being
Within life experiences.
Right.
Whether or not you are married or not, whether or not you have children or not. See, God taught me what love is through the children that I have. I always wanted children. Even before I had children, I liked playing with kids when we would have the family get-togethers. People my age would be doing one thing, but I would be out there playing with the kids because I don't know. I was just intrigued with I don't know. Just I wanted whatever. And so when I started having my own kids, even though I liked kids and wanted kids in the future, when I started having mine, I really got a totally new perspective on love and sacrifice, and because I used to race go-karts and play sports and ride motorcycles and dune buggies and did a lot of things for my own pleasure. But when I had kids, I gave all that up. And the only thing I did was work and pay bills and provide for my kids. And I say, what do I expect my kids to do for me in return? And the answer is nothing.
Yeah.
I purely love them as a self-sacrificing love, and I would do anything to give them everything that I could possibly give them, even if it means I sacrifice everything that I've ever wanted myself. And so I use that to understand who God is, because I believe that God created me, that I am God's child. And so even though I can't hear His voice or see His face or even hear His thoughts or read about His thoughts in the book that I used to think I could, but now I know that that's not a perfect reflection of who God is in the Bible.
Okay.
So I make a stronger connection with God through the love, the sacrificial love that I have for my children. than what I learned by intellectual study of the Bible. Now, you can definitely find those passages in the Bible uh, that that utilize that same relationship about the Father's love and the love for His children, the self-sacrificial love. That's in the Bible, but you don't get a lot of that from church because they're so intent on condemning and forcing you to fit into their mold uh, that they forget about love, and that's what Jesus came in the Bible and rebuked the first century Pharisees for. He says, you go out of your way to tithe anise, mint, and cumin, but you neglect the weightier matters of the law, which is love. And that's what churches and Pharisees, modern day Pharisees, are doing as well. So,
Absolutely.
life experiences can teach you as much about God as any book.
I think a common experience that me and Mike just shared in the last few months was actually just taking the time to go out to a place and to look at the stars and take photographs and to be able to identify where the particular stars were. And how many people walk out every night and they cannot identify what stars they're looking at. And that was my
That's
draw
true.
to learning more, was to know what I was looking at night. And this is what we've lost as a society. We don't know the stars we're looking at night.
Yeah, we're becoming more and
What
more
was
disconnected to the creation of God that actually reveals God. The image there, if you're seeing it, Jeff, that's something what collage I made, and that the image right here, that's actually what we took, right? That's Jupiter and its
that was
and its
from that
moons.
night.
Yeah,
And those are the moons of Jupiter.
yeah.
And
P900 you can do that, and it's like, oh my gosh, you can actually see the moons.
Are you sure that's moons instead of just glare?
no,
Is
Those
that
are moons. Those are the moons. You can actually look it up. There's numerous other images of people that have filmed Jupiter with the moons as well. So.
Yeah, well, that's pretty cool.
I know. That's what I thought too. And I was like, because he's one. He told me we filmed the moons. And I'm like, what? I said the same thing. I had to compare it with other photographs from other people. I said, oh yeah, we did film this. Well, be damn, we did it. So that's my first thought too. So it's understandable you think that.
You know why we're here.
Well, hey guys, I think I'm going to
Yeah.
check out of here.
It's a good time to check out. It's been 3 hours of this, and he's got to work. And but I would have to say something. Listening to this, and I'd like to have you come back again, maybe do mine, and then go in deeper things as well. But I
Yeah.
do see some of the power in this. I actually can see. I can also, as far as elder, being older now and being able to look back and see how this actually can work in your life. You know what I mean? Instead of just having a belief system, because this astrology itself can be kind of religious, if you will, right, based on belief, because you don't have life experience. And so, oh yeah. Or you can use this to manipulate people like so many other
Right. So I think that you can look at this stuff and it'll draw you closer to God instead of driving you farther away. The church wants to say it drives you away from God, but I think it draws you closer.
Well, I'm trying to get at is, right. And since and I'll let you talk, Eric, just a second. But what I'm just to make clear, people, and maybe they don't see it, or maybe they do. I don't know. But what I see is somebody who's older at 55 years old, hearing this stuff, having a relationship with Jeff, having a relationship with Eric as friendships, and spending time with the person, and reading that stuff. I said, oh, yeah, there it is. Now, if I didn't have those relationships, then I would have to be basing it on, some. Maybe it'd be more like magic or religion, right? Projecting, assuming. But I can see it now because I know you two, right? And that's what I'm saying, where the power might really be in revealing God and revealing how individuals are created a certain way, right? Why they're born at a certain time of the year. And that takes away a lot of the possible manipulation and possible how do I say this? It's kind of like someone who creates, like a guru or some, creates a religion, a cult, belief systems, and you must believe this. You must believe this, or else, right?
Yep.
Tainting
Well,
your perspective and becoming more biased. It's more. If you were to share this with me 20 years ago, I'd say this is crap. I can see
I've got some kids wanting to play some games with me, so I just got through talking about how much I love them. So I'm gonna get off of here with
Well,
you
hold on.
guys.
Before we do that, remind people about your book.
My book is titled "It Is Finished: Believe the Unbelievable." So it's the compilation of at least 30 years of Bible study, diligent intellectual Bible study, and so I outline the scriptures and I quote the scriptures and I explain how the plan of salvation was completely carried out in the first century when God sent Jesus to accomplish the mission. He was successful and he reconciled all humanity back to God. So everybody today, my conclusion is everybody today is a child of God. It does not matter whether you believe in Jesus or whether you go to church or anything. You can explore God's creation through astrology if you want, and it's not a sin because God does not because sin ended. And I explain it in great detail from quoting scriptures from start to finish throughout the Bible. And I would say that it's different than anybody has ever heard in churches, but it's indisputable. If you will read the book with an open mind, you can't dispute it. That's what I would say. So
Yeah. Jeff, thank you for spending your time with us. Thank you for
I will catch you guys later.
Astrology. You have a great night. Okay.
Nice to meet
Nice
you, Eric.
meeting you, Jeff.
Yep.
All right. What did you think about that, Eric?
I thought it was successful. I didn't imagine that I would actually stay this long and listen to you guys, but I did.
Yeah, you did.
I feel
you got
like
to kind
I
of
should
sound a
win.
little remorse there. Yeah, but I did.
Can I get a reward or some kind of T-shirt saying I sat through Mike's show and all I got was this crummy T-shirt?
Yeah, there you go. I mean, at least you said something that's tangible, physical, right? You know.
Maybe like a something I can hang up on.
The line in the Bible is, "It doesn't come through observation." So I'm sorry, you're not going to have that.
Well, I mean, I try.
You're a lover of this world. You know what I mean? You know, if you're too worldly. No, I had a great time. It was good. I never, honestly, this is the first time I have ever had the tolerance and patience to even listen to something like this.
Well, I think what made it mean something was you could see my charts and identify with some of the truth in that. I as well.
And definitely Jeff. I can see it in Jeff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can see that in both you guys. You know, and I'm glad. I was kind of dreading to have mine. It was goddamn disappointing.
Well, you dodged that one.
I know I did dodge that one. Thank you. You took the bullet for me. Yeah, it was great, man. It was awesome. And Sheldon, thank you for being there in the chat room and kind of, it's good to have someone there that's responding to people and recognize people. I really appreciate you being there, Sheldon. I did just to learn a few things about Sheldon and being with somebody for 25 years and never been married. It just shows that it's all about commitment. It has nothing to do with a piece of paper or what the rest of the world perceives things. It's all about commitment.
Congratulations to that.
No kidding. I consider that a real marriage in some ways. I'm not saying to someone that does go through the formal means of the state in order to be married. But to me, the purest form of a marriage between a man and a woman or anybody else is before God, no papers from the state. I mean, if you get, getting recognized with the state and getting a piece of paper, it's good because there's some benefits in this place, but you lose some rights as well doing that. But I think
I can't imagine 25 minutes.
25 minutes. Oh yeah, okay, 25 years. So the thing is, though, how I, at least me, visualizing a pure marriage before God is when two individuals, a man and a woman, write down their vows. They don't use somebody else's words, their own words. Write down their own vows before God. Go wherever you're going to do it. It doesn't have to be anybody there or not. It's just between you and God. In fact, I think it'd probably be purer if it was not before a priest or anybody else, right? Just before God. I think you would become stronger in your relationship with God because you two are making a commitment before God for real, and it's now. There's no fall man. There's no fall guy. There's the state, religion, a priest. You know what I mean? It's between you two. It's between you two. It's the truth. Now, that doesn't mean that it's going to last or it's going to be perfect, because someone can just, disavow their commitment. But I also believe that rituals are so important. They really are important if they're done right, and for transformation with the individual inside themselves and between two people or a group of people. Is if the rituals are done right. Today, at least my personal experience, most rituals that I've been experienced through religion or the state or whatever, it's been so superficial and so unmeaningful that I don't remember them, except that I know I did it. You know what I mean? There's no memorable moments for me. That's my honest perspective on things. And so, I think it's interesting too, that wherever you are in your birth chart and the time of the year, if this is true and these things and it's consistent. I mean, I see it in my two friends here, but if it's consistent throughout for everyone, then it really does reveal a hand of a creator, right? Some form, right? And that we have a connection with the stars, and then we should try to take it a little more seriously. And they also were asked the question, why Christianity forced us from it? Why did the priestcraft of Christianity and all these organized religions encourage us not to do this if it draws us closer to recognizing that there's some kind of divine intelligence or force? Why do you think, Eric?
Well, I think it's so we don't know who we are.
I think so too. I think we've been robbed terribly. And all this time, I thought that this was, I'm the more you grow and you wake up to the reality around you and have that light shine into the darkness, it truly is dark. It's more dark. We study, you realize how evil the Vatican is and the Jesuits, and then, this group and that groups you can't even say their names without having some legal force come after you and destroy you. It's just what it really isn't. There's a lot of evil in this world. It truly is a dualistic system. If it's of dark and light and day and night and good and evil, and therefore maybe as well that there was a reason really for the astrology. It wasn't just some middle-aged overweight woman sitting at home didn't know what else to do kind of stuff, just to waste her time, right? There was really science behind it, or had a real meaning behind it, and coming to terms with that and saying, okay, because it does, just listening to this, if there's any truth to this, then it says that there's a divine hand in this. You can't just have this astrology thing and say, well, there's certain personalities at this time of year for your birth in October, and then his in August. And I see clearly for me that people that come to stick around in my life, they're born in August and October. Isn't that freaking weird? Then it's no wonder why it is then as a Capricorn in January that happens. Or is it just, I wonder if other people have that same kind of experience. It would be interesting to look more into this, I think, in an investigative way. I'm not in like finding another cult to belong to, you know what I mean? Not another superstition to belong to, but really investigate it and look into it and see what connections is there to an intelligent designer or designers, along with near death experiences and out of body experiences and the astral plane and what's really going on up there. It's there's a lot more going on. And the problem with religion, and I see it is, as somebody who's, and you know me, and Eric probably knows me better than anybody else for the past 4 years, would you say? As far as my progress, my journey, my ranting about Jesus and about Christianity and everything else, and the Jesuits and the Roman Catholic Church and corruption in Christianity and blah, blah, blah. And I have to say, and there's a lot of truth to all that, and I'm still fascinated and disturbed by how it really is beyond our imagination, a system of control. Now, we say this in a flippant way, in a simple, superficial way of observation, but someone like me who studied this, it's, and then you try to tell people the truth about how bad this is, and they proceed to be negative, and it's like, no, I'm just trying to tell you, this is how the world really is. So why did what archonic forces influence the monarchies of the world, and the Vatican being the largest and most powerful monarchy in the world, right? And the oligarchs and the plutocracy of this world, what is influences have caused these people to maintain this system? They got to know themselves is totally corrupt to the core. Why are they keep pushing this system? Because it works. What's working? In order to stay in control of a populace, you can't tell them the truth. If you give the truth to them, then of course, then you equalize the playing field, and no longer are you the guy in charge, right? So yeah, some deep questions to ask, and it goes multiple facets. I think you recognize. I know Eric recognizes it. That's probably a reason why he's always bouncing from here to there, because it's in order to find, if like me, it's to see the bigger picture, to really understand the mess you're in and how to get the hell out.
Well, you can't just focus on one thing. You have to take in multi-facets. There are so many angles that you can't uncover every one of them.
And it costs a lot. Particularly, it costs a lot is in popularity and people accepting you, because you're bringing up uncomfortable things that we have been conditioned to say. They put walls and barriers in front of us to not look at and not approach. Oh, that's evil. That's all witchcraft. That's all sorcery. There's, what are these guys? I thought you believed in Jesus. What are you talking about astrology? And I'm like, yeah. Where are you at in your studies in the scriptures? You know what I mean? I really think it's a form of control. It's like walls that we create due to group pressure, right? And also just the fear of the unknown. But this whole journey in life is just going into the unknown, going into the abyss, right? And then people assume it's hell, and it is a hell at times. But it's not. It's the complete opposite. This is what people understand. You have to go into the abyss. You can't stay in your comfort in that stinking cave watching the light, the light show on the wall. You have to go out and see the reality, which is interesting when you talk about the Plato's cave. If you really read it properly, when it leaves the cave, he doesn't leave the cave willingly. He's pulled out himself. Right? You know what I mean? And that's who we are as nature, as human beings. We don't not want to escape the trap that's been set before us. We're comfortable in the cage. Yeah.
And what's outside of the cage? Light.
Yeah. And you recognize your light, that light, when you're in the darkness. When you're in this cave, the shadow puppets and the light show, or the flickering of the light, right? And everyone's staring at it. You're not seeing your own light. You're seeing someone else's light. When you're out in the darkness by yourself, it's kind of like somebody walking in pure darkness in the woods, and the only light you have is your flashlight. It's your flashlight. It's coming from you, right? You're the source of that light. That's where you see it. but you can't see it as you stay in, in the cave watching the flickering light of this artificial. It's almost like, no, you should go on and on, but we're definitely in this whole concept of being in a reincarnation soul trap matrix is starting to like seem more and more real. And now it's how to deal with it, and not it's treated as such a negative thing, but this is the circumstances we're in. Now, how do we get out of this? How do we go? People talk about higher vibrations and blah, whatever, but just to get the hell out of here and go to the next level, right? Because that's what we're all yearning. I know that's what I'm yearning. I think that's what you're yearning with your intellectual search. I think Sheldon's asking the same thing. I think a lot of people are asking the same thing. It's just like being comfortable enough to say it, knowing full well you're going to be judged like a.
You have to seek light and illumination, and when you are illuminated, you might not feel comfortable with what you see.
Well, you're not gonna. No way. It ain't gonna happen. And here's the thing, we talk this way, right? And then, oh man, they must be Luciferians the way they're talking. Oh, the light and light bearers. Or you must be Freemasons, which we're neither one of these things. Right? We're just guys just seriously inquiring about life and our reality. That's all we're doing. You talk this way, then all of a sudden now you're a heretic. Literally. Now, I'm not just talking religiously, but socially. It's like we all create these barriers. I did it myself. I honestly think when I was younger as a child, even with all the hell that was going through in the home and my relationship with my dad and all that kind of stuff, when I was out of the home, in the woods, in the forest, I was in that process, in that moment. And I can recognize through my whole life now that that's my soul's been searching to get the hell out of this place from the moment I was born. That's why, a lot of people of reincarnation will say, oh, we chose to come here. I didn't choose to come here. Something happened up there on the other side that forced me to come here. I don't know what I did or what, probably asking too many damn questions. This is what, right? That's right. What it came down to is you just asked too many questions.
In the end, when you finally get to the gate, there's going to be a voice that says, "Shut up, Mike."
Oh yeah. I even picture there's going to be voices on the way that say, "It was all your fault, Mike. All your fault, Mike. It's all your fault, Mike." Right? They're going to be condemning me all the way. Right? It's your fault. You did this. You did this, and I'm going to just be reminding, you know what? No, you guys did this. You put me in this situation. I'm not. It is a form of Stockholm syndrome that we're going through, and there's archonic forces, these spirits. You call them fallen angels or whatever they are, because we're not giving the right word.
Helsinki syndrome. What's Helsinki syndrome? Isn't that? Never mind. On that note, I got to go to sleep, Mike.
Yeah, you better get some sleep, man. We'll see you later.
Let's call it a shoot and score success.
Yeah, I hope you do it again, man. I think this is a positive look at, a historical look, something that's in a real thing, something that people have been doing for thousands of years, man. Thanks.
All right. Good night, everyone.
See you later, bro. So it's I think probably just me and Sheldon, someone else. With Sheldon, once again, thank you for being there. And anyone else was there, and everybody listens to this. And I hope he's trying to he's probably not figuring it out. So anyways, yeah, it was awesome and it was good. It was a relief. Actually, it was kind of lightweight, you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff I focus. Thank you, Chris. You mean Eric? Sorry about that. You're just like me. Sheldon sometimes just like me, at least. I always get the names wrong, but unless there's a Chris here that I don't know. Yeah, it's quite a journey, isn't it? Isn't it, Sheldon? It's quite a journey. The darkness, look at places where you're told you're not allowed to look at. And also to that just, because it's human nature, at least it's my nature, to think, oh, and study this stuff, so I must belong to this, right? I must join this. You don't have to join anything to learn this stuff. You can start and then join. I wouldn't even want to join it. I understand why other people would want to join it. You can study for a year if you want about Mohammedanism and not have to join it, right? It's all, but we are conditioned to think that we have to join it. We have to belong to it. It's all of a sudden becomes our identity, right? It doesn't have to be our identity. I like the identity that Sheldon was saying earlier. Well, we're sons and daughters of God. I like that identity. That identity is worth something. That identity is worth something. Seek and ye shall find. That's right. All right, Sheldon. I'm calling it tonight. Thank you for joining me. You have a great night. Congratulations on 25 years of being with somebody. That's amazing. You guys must really love each other.